tinfoil hat. Oh, what the fuck are you guys even talking about?
Global controls will have to be imposed, and a world governing body will be created to enforce them.
Welcome to Tinfoil Hat. We go deep, homeboy. Aaron, open your mind. Drink from the fountain of knowledge. There's lizard people everywhere. That's some interdimensional shit. Wake up, Aaron.
This is only the beginning.
Dude, you just blew my mind.
Are you ready to get your mind blown?
Good morning, Swarm, and welcome to Tinfoil Hat. You know I am. You know I'm here to do. I'm here to
Rock.
Joining me as always, Xavier Guerrero, and I want to drop a C word on him right now. J-Nice, Johnny Woodard. How are you, Johnny?
That's so rude, man. Why? Who says the C word?
Johnny says the C word to his girlfriend a lot, and we were just having a big
Don't
laugh
call her
about-
the C word. I just say it.
You know what the opposite of C word is? Our guest, Isaac Weishaupt, is the opposite of that.
He really is.
He's a great guy. He came on, dropped the hammer of the gods on us. We get a fun discussion about just some topics, current event topics, TikTok, all that stuff. And then we get into the occult symbolism in The Wizard of Oz. I enjoyed it. It was a good time, a lot of fun. I want us to take a moment real quick to thank everybody who came out to Yuma. So many Mexicans coming out to Yuma. Tell me, hey, bro, I love you so much. I listen to you when I'm at work, and I thank you so much. This is my brother. He looks like he's from Dagestani, but he's Mexican. Trust me on that.
Were they woke? Are they at least woke? They were.
Well, I mean, there's Awaken and there's Woke.
I know.
Awaken. Yeah,
They
they were a
Awaken?
lot of... Dude, they were laughing at a lot of shit except for the black stuff. Anytime I made fun of black people, they got real quiet. I'm like, there's two of them here. We could take them. Okay?
It's Yuma. What'd you expect?
It's you. Well, dude, it was so funny. There was an escape room right there on the main street. I'm like, yeah, now you know there's white people around here when there's an escape room because only white people go to escape rooms. Oh my God, I'm getting kidnapped. My life is horrible.
Not
Let's
enough
role
drama.
play. Yeah,
That's so
it's like
funny.
it's so stupid. But a lot of great shows coming up. If you want to see me live, guess what? Tonight we're doing a very special. Dana hates when I call it, but I'm gonna call it Emergency Comedy Chaos live at the world famous comedy.
What was
store.
the emergency?
They needed me to
comedy?
do a show.
Okay.
That was the emergency.
We
right
needed
there.
that comedy.
They needed that comedy, and bang, there it is. You want a killer lineup?
Wow.
Here's the killer lineup: Big J. Okerson, Bobby Lee, Ryan Sickler, Drew Lynch, Antic, and my man Jason Tebow coming back.
That's just somebody who said their name is Antic?
Antic the comic. He's an Armenian comedian. Please don't make fun of my people.
No, I'm not making fun. I just
What are you,
didn't-
Turk?
Is that his name? Like his last
Antic
name?
the comic. That's
Just Antic.
obviously not his real name.
Like
but that's his
Earthquake,
thing.
though. That's like his.
Yeah,
okay.
that's his.
Got it.
Yeah. So he goes up there and he brings a lot of Armo action.
Is that
though.
Jason Tebow?
That is the Jason Tebow.
Wow.
Grab your tickets now. They're moving quickly for this murder lineup. Then April 11th, another Comedy Chaos live at the Comedy Store. That's gonna be. We're putting together the lineup now, and then Toronto.
Woo-hoo.
Daddy's coming. The Royal Comedy Center. I having a show. It's only 60-seat theater,
Good.
so we have about 5 shows. I hope you guys will come and join me. Rock hard.
That's intimate shit right
That's
there.
some intimate.
That makes
shit.
sense. They call it the Royal Comedy Center, and the Royals are not known for their sense of humor.
Yeah,
60
I would say
seats.
they're
There
known
you
for
go.
having 60 people at their games. So, bam, there we go. And then San Diego, the American Comedy Company. Hey, if you want me to come to your city, I need you to find me. Hit me up with a cool rock club. I don't know if comedy clubs would have asked me if they want me. Hit me up with a cool rock club, brewery, something that has a stage, and we'll see if we can make it happen. Go check that out, guys. Go to samtripoli.com for all things Sam Tripoli. First of all my premium content's there. We're hanging, we're banging, we're putting out greatness. 2 tinfoil hats a week. Free zeros. I'm giving you free zeros. New shows only on Rockfin, and then we're doing another episode of Conspiracy Social Club in a new studio. Then we have some premium content on Patreon, and the patreon.com/cashdaddies. Johnny, how hard are we crushing it?
Crushing it Very hard.
Crypto's making a comeback.
Crypto, don't call it a comeback. Go on, what'd you say, Johnny?
How he's always smashing the markets. Yeah.
If you want to make money, go check it out. And then for $1,000, and we're giving out scholarships. We're giving out a lot of scholarships. We'll watch you make love. Okay, that's how it goes.
We're not. You're not selling it. We're not just watching you. At least I'm not. I'm not there to creep. I'm there to impart wisdom, to maybe show you some things you didn't already realize. That's the idea of this. It's not just for Sam to perv on your lovemaking sessions.
Maybe.
Are you guys supplying the Blue Chew as well?
I mean, yeah, if you sign up.
What is this, actually? You trying to get more value?
Yeah,
There's not enough value on the page?
He's trying to get on the show. He's trying to get in on it.
I'm trying to make it a good show. Like
he loads up on Blue Chew. That's all he does. He's constantly loading up on Blue Chew. Yeah, okay, look, it's already up there, March 28th. It's already on the website. T-shirts are available, everybody. Go check out the T-shirts. We have elongated skulls back, loyal to the foils up. Your algorithm's lying to you. Conspiracy theorists aren't wrong. Your algorithm's lying to you. I got a new show. And then the brainwash, question nothing T-shirt. People love that. We're hanging. We're banging, everybody. There we go. And then that's anything else, guys?
That's all for now. We're going to record a new Broken Sin. We did miss last week. We're back on it.
Yeah, a bunch of things conspired. Guys, go check out Gold and Silver, Wise Wolf. I mean, dude, everyone's telling you buy Gold and Silver now. Load up on that. Brown Gas, if you want to look young for the rest of your life. And all of our favorite people at Harley Ray. Crystals, candles, you name it, they got it there. Bang, get spiritual, bro. Get spiritual. And then last thing I'm going to tell you about is Nuked Social, which gets you on all my telegrams. It is my social media. I'm hearing everybody talking about Jeremy from the Quarterlings talking about his own social media. Jump on my social media. Come get weird. And then you can get on the Telegram and you can get on the Zero Telegram and the Only Conspiracies Telegram, which is Tinfoil Hats. Anything else, guys?
Nope.
All right, guys. I hope you guys enjoy this episode with our good friend and Mount Rushmore, one of the faces on Mount Rushmore, Isaac Weishaupt. Crushmore. Enjoy Isaac Weishaupt.
We go deep, homeboy. Aaron, open your mind. Drink.
All right, let's get into it. Very excited to have this next guest back again for the 12th time. His website is Illuminati Watcher. He's made it on to the Mount Crushmore still, even though there's a lot of people making runs for it. He's still in it to win it. Very excited. Always a pleasure to have him on for his 12th appearance. Please welcome Isaac Weishaupt. How are you, Isaac?
What's up, everybody? I'm here to hang out with the swarm today.
Yeah, Isaac, apparently you're the victim of global warming. You weren't able to get on your plane today because crushing temperatures have destroyed our fragile planet. You were supposed to be in studio, as always, and we always appreciate that you come in studio, but unfortunately, snow got really bad in Utah, huh?
Yeah, I prefer to come out there and see you guys in the studio. I feel like that makes for a better conversation, but it's been I feel like I'm on the Truman Show because it's been 6 months of the same exact weather almost every single day here in Utah, where it's just been gray skies and snowing. And yeah, without every time I do your show, I like to talk about the weather for a good 10 minutes.
Yeah, I'm in. That's how you tend to show your age when you start talking weather. And I'm all about weather. I'm never going to watch the Weather Channel, though. I tried for 2 seconds. And they were just like, hey, dude, how can we get people to watch our channel? Oh, let's get chicks who look like porn stars talking about high temperatures.
That's a real Southern thing. Like farmers and stuff love talking about it because it's their work, it's their livelihood.
They should take notes for the Mexicans.
Yeah.
We know how to do the news.
Yeah,
we know how to do the weather.
Feminism has not made it to Mexico. Isaac, for anybody just tuning in for the very first time that hasn't seen any of your amazing appearances on past episodes, can you tell them a little bit about yourself and where they can find you?
Yeah, so boy, where do we start? So I've been around this conspiracy block for a while now. since was it 2011. I started a blog, illuminatiwatcher.com, and I've written 9 books since then. I've been podcasting since 2014, and and there's various, I've been kicked off all the usual platforms, the YouTube and Google shadow banned me, and Vimeo and all that stuff. And I've rebranded my podcast title to Occult, Symbolism, and Pop Culture. It used to be Conspiracy Theories and Unpopular Culture. Just because, for a variety of reasons. I did a whole show explaining it, so I won't badger about it. But I basically rebranded because that seemed to be the niche that I found myself to be the most enjoyable, is discussing occult symbolism. And when I say occult, of course, I mean hidden, right? Latin term for hidden. And researching about all of these ancient cultures and different philosophies and belief systems that many could argue are actually the belief systems of the quote-unquote Illuminati, a secret, shadowy group of elites controlling all of us. Because when it comes down to occult symbolism, I'm able to see it in various pieces of entertainment. So I like to watch movies, TV shows, and all that, even music videos, and look for the symbolism hidden within it, and then research some of the books and the philosophies that these people have written, because you find a connection there, an overlap. And I do believe that out of all the conspiracies, that's the one that not only do I subscribe to and I believe in, but I find it to be less, I don't know, black pilly, I guess is the way to say it. Because sometimes when you get into the conspiracy world, sometimes these different paths will take you down to black pill territory, and I feel like it promotes division sometimes. And like for me, on a personal level, I don't discount some of those ideas. I just don't like where the headspace it puts me in, where I start distrusting people and things like that.
I totally agree with everything you're saying. I love the new name. It's great for branding. When I talk to people all the time, I go, when people are scrolling through, I think that's where you get a lot of new listeners, is when people are scrolling through like new shows or top of the charts or whatever it may be. When they see your podcast, they want to know exactly what they're getting. If they have to think about it, I think it's very hard to grow that thing unless you're super famous or best friends with Joe Rogan. Outside of that, it's very hard to grow it. So it's like when they know exactly what they're getting, you got a better chance of them stopping.
There's a lot of competition. A lot of competition.
Yeah, it's like people are like, oh, there's too much podcasts. I go, yeah, there's too much, but there's not enough good podcasts. And everybody should have a podcast. I think it's fun, especially if you just want to do it as a way to get out these thoughts you have and all that stuff. So I like the new name. It's great. Let me ask you something. Is this the golden era of detecting occult symbolism? Or was it better when it wasn't so obvious and you had to do some work and people were like, dude, tell us what you saw? Or now it's like, dude, I saw this. Did you see it? Like, which is better for you?
That's actually a really good question. It's kind of like ufology, right? I have a deep, fond respect and admiration for the 80s, 90s, your Bill Coopers and Jordan Maxwell's and Coast to Coast type guys, because that's what I grew up on. And it had a certain fun, Ancient Aliens vibe to it, where you're like, oh, you get to just consider something instead of making it this deep, conflicted, political almost thing, right? Well, with the occult symbolism, when I got into it was the early days of my blog. I was also on YouTube in the 2010s, and Freeman Fly, he was one of the guys that really was digging deep into some of the doctrines of Freemasonry and things, and talking about corporate logos and symbolism. And he's the one who kind of red pilled me into looking at occult symbolism. And back then, there was less people doing it, and it felt like it was such a, at least from my perspective, I'm sure there was people out there that are way more educated and were more familiar with it, but back in the 2010s, several people were making YouTube videos trying to make a guess at what we're seeing, these all seeing eye symbols. And it seemed to be more, I don't want to say the Wild West. That sounds a little more exciting than it was, but you could catch a lot of different videos, and most of them were trash, but it was fine. Everyone was having a good time. And I feel like there's been a lot of people who started kind of niching down into that realm. Like I was listening to Juan on Juan podcast.
Yeah.
Juan Ayala. He does great work. Paranoid American. I just did a show with him. There's several guys out there that are sort of niched down in the conspiracy world to this sort of occult doctrine, occult philosophy, and symbolism arena. And so in a way, I guess now would be the golden era, because you've got a lot of people who are actually educating themselves, myself included. I don't profess to know it all. I'm learning with everyone else, and I try to read and provide the references for folks who are also trying to understand what's going on. So I guess I would say now would be more of a golden age, because we're actually learning some things about what's going on.
I love it. It's a weird thing to be to start having this is kind of the society we live in right now, where all the outlaw stuff is becoming mainstream. And it's both great because, that's more exposure. But I also think there's a lot of people that start to try to do outlaw stuff that aren't built for that life, and it's not everyone's built to be an outlaw,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just the way it is. Not everybody can handle all of the information that comes with being a conspiracy theorist, or for me personally, an edgy comedian. Because
you're used to getting canceled.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not really. It doesn't. You come in here again, but when it first happens to your first time, it fucking hurts.
Yeah, I love listening to people. Oh my God, they just shadow. I'm like, first time. You're not. You got to be. But and Isaac, and then I want to get into what you're here for, which is. I'm very excited to talk about The Wizard of Oz. I mean, I can't wait to watch. Hopefully, after we have this conversation, I'll still want to watch it with my daughters, because it's a tradition passed down, because my mother and my father watched it with me when we were kids. So I'm very excited about that. But you brought up the black pill thing. I find it very interesting, because I personally think we're winning. But they want us to think we're losing. And the more they push hard to us, the more I start to go, okay. Somebody said this the best. They wouldn't need all this propaganda if they weren't winning. I mean, if they weren't losing, right? Like they would need to constantly be bombarding us all the time with all of this beliefs or all this information to make us believe that we have no power, nothing. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that's very relatable to this TikTok ban, which, let me caveat that by saying I don't trust any of these media companies, these, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. To me, they're all stealing your data. We kind of know that, right? But I think it's interesting that the one bipartisan thing that they can all agree on is that they want to ban TikTok. And look, I'm an American, right? Proud American. Got my bald eagle statue right here in my flag. I don't. If someone's going to steal my data, I'd rather it be an American company than a Chinese company. I'll say that, right? But I don't think anyone should steal your data. I think the government, if they're trying to protect us so hard, should just outright ban the usage of data mining and all that stuff that these social media companies do. But I've spent a lot of time on TikTok over the last couple years. Because I actually like it. It's a very valuable tool. The algorithm knows me well, and it's giving me lots of interesting conspiracy stuff and, fun videos or whatever, right? And the fact that they want to ban it, to me, because I think I've gotten a lot of news and sort of non-mainstream media sources of information from TikTok, which sounds crazy, right? Oh, you're going to believe everything you see on TikTok. Well, I mean, I'll fact check it a little bit here and there, right? But the government, the Illuminati, whatever, they want to be able to reach out and control the social media company, and they can control Zuckerberg. Zuckerberg's been lobbying them to do this for a long time, and there must be something that with TikTok that they can't reach out and touch them, and that's why it's such a problem, because they know that when they start doing some shady stuff, there's a whole army of people out there who are willing to talk about it and trying to spread the message. And you can get something to go viral on TikTok and they can't get out in front of that or shut it down. That's a real problem, I think.
I agree with that. There's a lot going on with that TikTok ban. I mean, a lot of even the most. I did an only conspiracies on Rockfin, and we were talking last night about it. And Matt Berbliglia, I think is his last name. He has a new graphic novel coming out, and we were having our discussion about drag queens and drag kids and all that stuff, and that's a different discussion. But when we got, because you don't want the government getting to that, but then we brought up that, hey man, what about TikTok? And he goes, I'm gonna be a hypocrite. Okay, yeah, his graphic novel is called House on Fire, and it's Matt Battaglia, I believe is his name. I fuck up last names. But he was like, yeah, get rid of that. Get rid of TikTok. And it's interesting because, I am a free speech guy. I'm for free speech. But is another government manipulating an algorithm free speech?
Well, what about Facebook and Instagram not being allowed in China? Because our companies aren't allowed over there. If we
That's a great point. Xavier Guerrero, point for you today.
Yeah, I mean, they have no right to free speech, though, in those countries.
Oh, well, now I took your point, gave it to Johnny.
Yeah,
okay?
but I mean, at least let the company there with whatever rules. They don't want it there at all.
Yeah.
Don't mind shit, which is
kind
of
the algorithm's interesting if it's a manipulation of information that you're only allowed to see the stupid. Now there's accounts like Libs of TikTok, which is a fun account if you're a conspiracy theorist. But that's also amplifying the worst of Twitter. I would not know about any of those videos if it wasn't for Libs of TikTok. And there's a whole thing about when you find out who she is and who her family connections are. It's not just some random person who just came up with a cool ass Twitter account. She's actually has some deep connections to a lot of people. So that becomes, what is that about? So it's like, it's all this manipulation of our realities.
Okay, well, what about that whole, he admitted that they can press a button and someone can go viral?
Oh,
that's really manipulating kids and really fucking with their brain.
Well, that's how they get you hooked on it.
Yeah.
You're like, I have friends of mine that couldn't sell 5 tickets in anywhere, but like, dude, I just got 3 million views on my video. I go, oh, bro. I mean, that's a TikTok farm doing that, but they don't care because they get that adrenaline rush. TikTok for guys lets you know what it feels like to be a hot chick that posts nothing and gets 1 billion likes. That's what TikTok is. You want to feel what it's like to be a hot chick and just get likes for no reason? Yeah. There you go, TikTok. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting, right? It's like there's a manipulation of energy and a manipulation of reality that comes with TikTok. And is China trying to do subversion with that algorithm?
I actually think that I actually agree with that. I believe that the Chinese is, because I get it on my feed. I get a lot of anti-American sentiment of almost like pro-communism, pro-socialism kind of videos. I'll get those, right? And my whole thing, because I'm a big free speech guy. Because I watched some of those the congressional meeting where they were grilling the CEO, and they were kind of pushing that idea that, hey, the Chinese government is trying to manipulate Americans and, basically trying to plant the seeds that America is not the greatest country in the world or whatever, right?
Which would be true. It's a great country.
Right.
But we've seen that the powers that be are causing chaos in the rest of the world. You can't ignore that. What the military-industrial complex has done to the rest of the world. America is, I love it. I love being American, but you can't sit there and go, what our government's done to the rest of the world is acceptable.
Right. And that was my whole argument. And you can apply this to everything. You apply this to freaking InfoWars, honestly. They're presenting information, and if what the Congress people should be worried about is they're pushing this and these critiques against America, And the problem is I'll watch these videos critiquing it and I'll agree with some of them and I'll say, you know what? They got this right on the money. That's true. And instead of worrying about the truth and the reality of it, because if they went on there and made a video and said, you know what, in America, the sky is green. Can you believe it? It's awful. I would scroll right past it. Be like, that's stupid. It's obviously not green, whatever. Right. You know, and I'm just making that example up. But the problem is that they're actually pushing some ideas that make you think and say, you know what, they're right. Like there's outside perspectives because, you know, I talked to a guy one time who a friend of mine lives in America and he watches Al Jazeera news. I said, why the hell are you watching Al Jazeera news? And he's like, well, you know, you're a big conspiracy guy. You don't trust the news here. I go, no, I don't. But, you know, I'm not going to watch Al Jazeera. And he said, well, sometimes you need that outside perspective of an outsider. And then it's up to you to decide, okay, is our own news in this country manipulating us and other countries are getting it right or not? And just boils down to that free speech, and people need to be educated so that they can be aware or be able to discern between truth or fiction, right? So yeah, the TikTok ban's an interesting subject because I could be convinced either way. I just haven't heard any convincing argument as to why they should ban this social media when all these other social medias do the same thing. Edward Snowden is sitting in I don't know, where's he sitting, in an embassy somewhere, because he came out and said about how the American government was spying on us with the PRISM program and all that stuff. So I don't know. It just seems weird that they've got such a hard on to ban this thing. You know what I mean?
Hey, guys, I want to tell you about our good friend James McMahon and Copy My Crypto. Let me tell you about CopyMyCrypto.com. Listen, so many people are making ridiculous money from crypto, but did you know it's easy for you to do the same? The Copy My Crypto membership site shows you the coins that YouTuber James McMahon personally holds and allows you to copy them. It's like having a big brother who knows what he's doing. You don't need to know a thing about crypto or how to invest. You simply need to do what he does, okay? So let me tell you about James. He runs Crypto with James YouTube channel, which despite heavy censorship has over 26,000 subscribers. Good for him. Since March 2020, he's told his viewers to buy 26 crypto coins. Had you put $100 in each, it'd be worth 123,000. Okay. Of the 26 coins, his top pick of the year, a coin called Phantom, went up 692 times from what he said. That one cause retired a number of people, including guys in their 20s and 30s. Remember, this is public knowledge. You can go to his YouTube and verify this yourself. So if you'd like to join the 2,800 members who copy James, then stop what you're doing and head over to copymycrypto.com/TFH. That's copymycrypto.com/TFH. That's TFH. You'll not only find proof of everything I've said, but my listeners will get full access for just $1. Once again, that's copymycrypto.com/TFH. The recession is here, guys. You can suffer like everyone else or choose to thrive. James is the real deal. Go visit the site now. My mother thinks that if she watches some of Fox News and some of CNN or some of Fox News and some of MSNBC, she'll get an understanding of what's going on. I personally think anything and all of it is just bad news. There's a spin. There's no, in my humble opinion, even in YouTube, you'll find a couple of content creators who are right down the middle.
Like I think like breaking points.
Yeah,
I think they're a little bit in the middle. You got like some at super left, super right.
I mean,
kind of sit there and
personally,
argue
bro,
with each
I
other.
think everybody, and this is Sam speaking, not Isaac Weishaupt. Check your bingo card. That I personally believe that everybody on the Daily Wire is a limited hangout. If you watch what they talk about, anytime we start getting to a sense of common sense, a place of common sense, they come in there and bring some crazy shit to get the right super energized, which then automatically energizes the left, and now we're fighting again. Happens every time. Every time we try to get to a happy place, we're like, oh, let's all get along. Oh, man, we're starting to get along. Boom, something comes, get rid of this, deny that, deny this. It's like, sorry. I mean, like, I agree with a lot of things that Matt Walsh says, but sometimes he goes really angry on some talking points, and it just sounds like to me like he's just trying to just cause this people fighting. Same thing with Candace Owens. Like, yeah, you're right about a lot of shit, but when you're wrong, you just are just mucking it up. And what you don't talk about is even more glaring about who you are and what you're talking about, what you're about.
How much do you think they know about that? I mean, do you think they're just being manipulated and they were chosen because they have those beliefs, or do you think they are witting participants in this?
I think they're witting participants. Yeah, okay. I think they know. I just think it's the same. Like, the people on the Daily Wire are no different than people on MSNBC or on Fox News. They know what the people signing the checks want, and they play into it, and they push, and it's meant to drive people several ways. Like, so many times you're like, oh man, I love Candace Owens. She's saying great stuff, and then she's like, what doesn't she talk about? How she just abandons Kanye when he starts talking about protected people and all that stuff. It's like, okay, we see how you are. You're really into like pushing back against the narrative until it's the people who sign your checks. And I get that because she's probably making a great living on there. But I mean, you gotta go, who are they? So when I hear somebody say, I'm watching Al Jazeera, okay, I agree, man. Like when 9/11 was going on, or when America was thinking about going in Iraq, dude, the world was protesting it, and our news never told you. So if you watch Al Jazeera, you'd realize the rest of the news the rest of the world isn't what into us doing this illegal invasion. But I think all of it is just trying to heighten your anxiety so you're more manipulated. When in reality, you should look inside yourself, I think. That's just me. But enough of that, Isaac. You're here to talk about one of my favorite topics, The Wizard of Oz.
That's right. And yeah, I did on my podcast, I did 4 episodes on The Wizard of Oz. I did a very deep dive into this story. I actually had heard a couple of other podcasts, like Bledsoe Said So. He did a show about Wizard of Oz. And, I'm going to guess I'm similar to Sam and many other people. I grew up watching this movie. I loved it as a kid, but I hadn't watched it in many years as an adult, right? With a discerning adult lens. And I thought, okay, well, let me give it a shot, right? And I watched it as an adult and dug into the making of the film, the creator of the story, L. Frank Baum, Judy Garland, some of the various popular conspiracies with the movie, the Pink Floyd Dark Side of the Moon album soundtrack thing, the real meaning of those ruby slippers, and the Somewhere Over the Rainbow song. That's tied into a lot of conspiracies. And we'll kind of unpack some of these things in more detail. But then I read the book, and then the book took it to a whole nother level. And I said, wow, there's so much going on here with this story. And I ended up doing a full episode just on L. Frank Baum and the creation of the Wizard of Oz story. Then I did a full episode on the film itself with various symbolism that you see within it. And then I did a full episode unpacking that symbolism, the whole occult meaning of the story, which if you get into it, it's basically the whole quote unquote occult agenda. It's the evolution of consciousness. It's kind of what the medium of film and storytelling could be used for in terms of the occult, specifically the religion of Gnosticism. And we'll talk about all that. Then I recently, just last week, published an episode on the Return of Oz, the sequel from the 80s, which had a whole dark, sinister MK Ultra tinge to it as well. So there's actually a lot going on in this story, and I don't think it's going to ruin anything for you, Sam. I don't think it's going to trash the story and make you want to not watch the film, because like I always say, when it comes to the occult belief system, there's elements of it that are are actually very good, very sort of inspiring and inspirational. Like, which I think of a good example, like law of attraction stuff, right? That's very applicable. You don't have to start worshiping Lucifer to know that thinking positively and trying to do positive things will result in you getting positive energy back and feeling better about yourself and your community and all that. So, it depends on how far you want to take it. Like in Theosophy, when you get down deep in the weeds on it, you'll find out Helena Blavatsky was into Luciferian archetypes. But, you don't have to take all that with you. You can just watch the film and take it as a story of Dorothy's hero's journey and her learning something about herself, as well as the Scarecrow and the Tin Man and the Lion, right? But yeah, there's a lot going on in this story.
There is a lot going on, and this is the constant battle of being a conspiracy theorist in modern times. Is what can you enjoy? Like, it's like, you hear Eddie always talk about, when I hang out with my kid, I turn off the conspiracy, I take off my tinfoil hat, I turn off the skeptic brain, and I just sit there and enjoy the blue pill. And I get that. I totally get that. I think a lot about with my children. I have to let them live their life. And when they get to a certain point, for me, like I talk to my children very much about spirituality. Like I am always telling them about words. Like my daughter can say the word can't a lot. And I say, we don't say can't, we say can, and we try to get it done. And if we can't get it done, we understand why couldn't we get it done? So I try to teach her that, so she doesn't understand magic at this point, but I'm trying to have her understand that she's putting orders into the universe. And so it's like, but I like to, I want to watch simple things with them and want to let them enjoy those moments. It's a hard thing to do. It's in these times and now, especially now where there seems to be a full court press to push this symbolism on everybody. It's not easy because are we going, because I could turn everything off and I'm trying to train myself to do that.
So I got to ask you, so you posted that thing about the non-binary elephant, dog key, whatever was on TV. What was your reaction when you were actually watching it? Because I just saw you post it. Did you turn off the TV? Did you find something?
No, it was a post, and that show's now off Netflix.
I thought
people found it.
I thought you caught it in person.
No, so I saw somebody post
I can't imagine how you'd feel as a parent just watching it.
I would be like, what? It just is, they're trying to get to the youth. That's all you can say. And these leftists, they push back on that. And it's like, if we know what happened to the Bolshevik Revolution, you're watching it happen in real time. And I'm just somebody who's like, I have gay friends, I have trans friends, I have friends of mine who are adult film stars or were adult film stars. I know women who have prostituted and could be doing it at that time, and it doesn't affect me. And that's your life. If you don't hurt people, I'm not going to get involved in it. Okay, but I'm a live and let live guy. But I also don't believe there's enough trans in the world to change the way we've been raising children for thousands and thousands of years. There's just not enough of them to completely flip on its head how we operate. Sorry, that's just me. Live and let live. But I want to get back to the Wizard of Oz. So, yeah, it's not easy, man. It's not easy in this day and age. And
yeah, it's hard to have that power of discernment to know, because I feel the same way about things as Eddie, right? Where I still like to enjoy these things. I'm definitely not trying to get people to boycott these films or these artists. The only one I've boycotted is Machine Gun Kelly. Sam.
Respect.
Yeah, and that was a big move for me, because I actually, Machine Gun Kelly as a rapper, he was fine. I thought he was fine. It wasn't my favorite rapper. And I don't even like emo rock, but when he started making those pop punk emo albums, I actually liked those a lot. I was like, dude, this is good music. I love these albums. So when I seen how sensitive he was about some jokes, I lost all respect for the guy. I said, I can't believe it, man.
Well, I
can't
just
believe
want
you
to
gotta-
say something. He's going through a lot. I mean,
Oh,
just
okay.
after that, you know, his wife left him because he did.
Oh, yeah.
He was a he's doing grown man stuff. Not grown. Not that cheat on your wife makes you a grown man, but he was doing adult. He acted like an idiot adult. So I don't really hate him, and you know, like I'm just weirded out unless somebody has, you know. I just don't want to be like the guy who's constantly bringing it up, and not that you bring it up right now. I have any problems with it because I think it's very funny, you know. But I feel weird when like people are making new content on it, and unless it makes me laugh, I won't retweet. Like Joey Tunes
That was great.
did Joey B Tunes. Is that
Yeah,
his-
it was
he
great.
did something out which was pretty funny. But outside of that, I kind of feel for the guy because you know you're really walking into somebody's world and being a complete dick.
And you probably think you were really zoning in on him. We had no idea that he was even fucking there.
I mean, yeah, I made fun of wiggers.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure someone maybe
Which
told him.
apparently
Yeah.
somebody's telling me is a bad word.
No.
I never like we're just like people are just grabbing words and making them taboo. It's like I'm not playing that game anymore.
Yeah, I just saw about the digital blackface thing. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I'm not playing that at all. I mean, like it's just stupid. But
What is digital blackface?
well, so CNN, which just says stuff to cause chaos, like
Is that when you talk like a black person on
No,
Twitter? Is that
no, that's when you use a meme with a black person in it.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So like if you ever use
That's
like one of the
ridiculous.
like
Yeah, it's stupid, but it's like this isn't normal. This is what this is the mainstream media trying to cause dissension, trying to cause fighting. So they just throw out the most ridiculous thing to get retweets and tweet and likes. This is Saturday Night Live's whole marketing scheme. Is say the most ridiculous shit on their show and then have this fake AstroTurf bunch of bots tweet and retweet it so people think it's something. In reality, it's nothing. It might just be them just saying over, is this offensive? And then just everyone starts retweeting it. Bots retweeting bots, retweeting bots. And now it seems like it's something, and it's not. And if you don't think retweeting that woman,
it's hilarious.
I got bronchitis. Ain't nobody got time for that. It's not the funniest thing ever. Then
what-
go fuck you. It's my joke about, and it's Sam speaking again now, Isaac. Like Jews do retarded shit, blacks do retarded shit, trans do retarded shit, gays do retarded shit. Okay, they all do retarded shit. Like you can't sit there and say, "Hey, pointing out retarded shit isn't funny." I'm not gonna. I don't come to the show. Like my new special, I probably won't be able to put on YouTube because I'm going to hit almost all the buzzwords.
Yeah, but what's next after this? If you laugh at this, you're racist. Not if you post, if you just laughed. Like
Yeah.
it just keeps getting to the point where like, well, what's going to be racist? Just laughing at it. Oh, don't laugh. If you chuckle,
No,
you're the racist
dude, we
person.
gotta just CNN is a empty fucking. CNN is just a Detroit. It's just Detroit at this point. There's just a couple people left, and they had a great run. You know, now only hipsters are there. So, yeah. So let's get back to where we want
right.
to start. Wizard of Oz.
Okay, so let's talk Wizard of Oz, right? L. Frank Baum, he wrote the story. It was published in 1900, and he actually died. I think it was 1917. He died, 20 years before this thing was actually made into a film. It was actually released in 1939. A lot of people mistakenly think this was the first film to feature the Technicolor, where films were black and white mostly back then. This is just the first big film to have Technicolor in it. Now, the film itself. Let's talk about Judy Garland, right? She plays the role of Dorothy, the protagonist of the tale here, and she is one of the first. I don't know if I want to say public stories, but one of the most well-known early stories of this early Hollywood Babylon, as Kenneth Anger would put it in the book he wrote about early golden age Hollywood. But this Hollywood machine just completely wrecking these actors and actresses. She was, to put it in perspective, she was 16 when they filmed Wizard of Oz, and by the time she was 40, she died at 47, I believe. So from the time she was 16 to her 40s, she was in, one of the biggest films of all time. And in her 40s, she was homeless, down and out on drugs, owed a bunch of money on taxes, had virtually no money in her bank, and she was suicidal, and she died. She died way too young. And this is
How old
one of
was
the...
she?
47.
I think she was
die?
47.
Yeah, 47.
Oh, man. And, dude, just Mommy Dearest is based on her, right? Like...
Yes. Yeah. Her mom. So in Kenneth Anger's book, Hollywood Babylon, he says that, and it's kind of like a tabloidy gossipy book where, he's talking about rumors and hearsay about all these different actors and actresses. They call her Amphetamine Annie. And
Wow.
it's kind of sad when you realize why. It's because her mother had put her on diet pills and sleeping pills when she was only 10 years old.
Oh my God.
I mean, crazy stuff. And if you watch cursed films on Shudder, they talk about how her mother tried to abort her, and her mother clearly wasn't protecting her, but certainly wasn't protecting her from Hollywood, because Hollywood was doing the same things to her. They were giving her meth pills and putting her on these horrific diets. Like, for instance, they would put her on meth to keep her awake to film, and then the studio would put her on barbiturates to go to sleep at night. And they put her on this. She was on this diet her whole life, and even though she wasn't even fat, right? But they would give her a bowl of soup and lettuce. She would order like a regular meal at I don't know, like on the set of whatever they're filming, and they were directed to give her just soup and lettuce, and they put her on this whole regimen, this whole diet of, she could have soup, black coffee, diet pills, meth. She smoked 80 cigarettes a day, and even with all of that, they still corseted. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Corseted her waist. And it's just shows you like the extremes of what things used to look like, and maybe still are. I mean, I don't know. But this woman went through the ringer with Hollywood.
I mean, we just had Amanda Bynes like running down the street buck naked. Right? I mean,
called 911 on herself.
Well, I mean, like, it's so women are just very interesting. Where, like, as crazy as they get, there's still that one little bit of like, okay, I'm naked in public. This is not good for me, right? But it's like, I mean, we've seen that. We've seen it happen. This is like, it's just so interesting, like modern day Hollywood, and how like they've convinced us again about all this Me Too shit, and they've basically changed the way men and women relate with each other in America. The Me Too movement has done so much damage to how men and women interact with each other. Okay? But yet, like, how they treat children, women, nobody in Hollywood cares. They just don't care. They do not see it as anything bad, because to acknowledge that children are precious is to acknowledge that religion or Christianity or spirituality exists. And if you're an atheist or you're a leftist, you can't do that, because you know what? Your dad was religious and he didn't hug you enough. Or the guy who you didn't show you any love in high school, or the girlfriend didn't show you enough love, and the girl didn't show you enough love in high school. You know, they would be right. And you can't, like, they've made us so emotional that we're willing to ignore common sense and co-sign on bullshit. And it's like, now we see Amanda Bynes just going nuts, Lindsay Lohan going nuts over and over and over again.
I think these kids, these younger kids, are going to be celebrities in the future, are going to have way worse breakdowns. Like Will Smith's kids, wait till they have their breakdown. Like in the future, it's going to get worse. I think it's going to be bad, because they've been even fame has been with them longer and more interactive with them, because they have a phone. Even though Britney Spears was famous, she wasn't on her phone all the time.
No, she's shish kebab too.
Oh, she's, yeah.
I don't even know if they'll have breakdowns anymore. I mean, those Smith kids just seem like pure products of the system. You know what I mean? Like they were created by the system.
Well, I mean, my favorite thing is when they're in like some kind of like racism, fighting back against racism commercial, and you're like, dude, you've been born into like the easiest life possible. You're just identifying with a struggle that you really never participate in.
And Johnny might be right with that, because I think the Kardashians are actually mean to any of that shit. I don't like Kylie and them.
Well,
I don't think
all
they're having
witches,
a. Yeah,
all right? We can get into that cult stuff. But.
Well, it makes you wonder about Northwest, right? You know, Kanye and Kim's child. I don't know what the gender is. I don't follow them that closely, but you know, there's this sort of struggle they have over what this kid's supposed to be doing. And maybe Kanye, because sometimes Kanye, sometimes I'm like, man, this is the red pill guy. He's gonna expose all this. But then other times I think he's not. But sometimes I wonder, maybe he is aware of some kind of, like Will Smith and Jada Pinkett's kids. Like there's some setup for them to get into some weird stuff, maybe. And he's trying to avoid having Northwest go through that. I don't know. Just an idea to float out there.
But yeah, so she like went through this. I mean, like if you listen to, I think it's Shirley Temple in an interview, I think with Larry King, what she laughs off is, I would murder somebody if they did that to my kids, where they showed up to a Hollywood meeting, separated the parent and the kid went in and the guy was buck naked in the room. That dude would be dead. And she laughs it off because she told her mother, and mother goes, you should see what happened to me, which means they did to the mom too. Wow.
Well, that's interesting because Shirley Temple was actually supposed to take the role of Dorothy in Wizard of Oz. With some scheduling. I think she was with a different studio, so contractually they couldn't make it happen. But they wanted Shirley Temple to play the role of Dorothy.
I heard Dorothy was supposed to be blonde and blue-eyed, but right after the Holocaust and World War II, they're like, nope, can't promote that stuff. I heard she was supposed to be blonde and blue-eyed, but they were like, nope.
Oh,
so
really?
Right before it came out, they had to switch the character to brown-haired, more American. We're keeping more American, not so fucking neo-Nazi. Yeah. I don't know how true that is.
In the book, in the book, she's blonde, apparently. I'm just reading it here. So.
And that was supposed to go down, and they stopped it right before.
So when you see these kids, man, you just got to be like, I'm sorry, but I have lost sympathy for when I see homeless people, because I think so many of them are just products of the system that nobody protected them. And that's why I see when I think of Judy Garland, like nobody protected her.
Yeah, and she went through the same thing. She was groped by, according to her, Judy Garland's biographer, she was groped by, I think it's John Mayer, the guy, MGM, the MGM guy, Meyer, I don't know how you pronounce it, but he was groping her, and so were the Munchkins. The Munchkins were constantly sexually harassing her as well during the filming. Wow. And listen to this, I got a tragic quote. About the abuse this chick went through, man. Judy Garland, she said, I wanted to black out the future as well as the past. I wanted to hurt myself and everyone who had hurt me. I mean, that chick went through it, man.
Yeah.
She died with, and she was in a lot of movies. She did like 8 studio albums. She was in movies that, there was a movie she did that was bigger than Wizard of Oz. I've never seen this. So I can't think of it off the top of my head. Star is Born. She did that. She did a lot of films and a lot of work, and she died with $40,000 in her estate, and her daughter Liza Minnelli had to pay off some of her mom's debts. Anyway, she lived a pretty tragic life. So like that just sets up the it sets up the darkness of what would continue throughout Hollywood's history of all these actors, actresses, and entertainers kind of getting run through the ringer on this stuff,
Yeah, 100%.
But L. Frank Baum, if we could shift gears for a minute, let's talk about L. Frank Baum. He was the author of the Wizard of Oz story. He actually wrote 14 of the novels because the Oz series, he wrote the first book, and it actually got more popular than he thought it would. He continued to write 14 more. Then I believe there was another 20-something books written after he died. But yeah, he didn't see. So he saw the popularity of the story, but he wasn't alive to see the film actually happen. But in the stories, and I haven't read all the books, I only read the first one. He had apparently predicted a lot of technology. He, just like we saw in Stanley Kubrick and Arthur C. Clarke's 2001: A Space Odyssey, where they were showing us a future with iPads and FaceTime and all kinds of stuff. The Oz stories showed us augmented reality, laptops, and cell phones. You know, obviously 100 years before they were in existence. And he actually wrote in one of the sequel books, I think it's the second or third book, Ozma of Oz, there's a character named TikTok, ironically, and that's considered to be the first robot ever written about in literature. So the guy was pretty far ahead of his time, and we'll get into it, but he a lot of this information that he, I would say, channeled for this story came from occult influences, I believe.
So he wrote how many books about the Wizard of Oz?
He wrote 14.
Damn, do you even know
Wizard of Oz books.
I knew there was more than one book, but I mean, it was what, 1900 or something, right? It was a long time ago, right?
Yeah, and they're pretty short, but they're it's still a respectable book. And the second film, Return to Oz, was based off of, I believe, the third and fourth books. Like they kind of mashed some of the storylines together. But yeah, there's a whole library of books if people want to get into the story. It's an interesting story. So,
damn, dude, that is crazy. That is crazy. So, L. Frank Baum, like he had connections to like people like Crowley, or
yeah, and let's go down that occult sort of inspiration, right? He was a Methodist, so he was a very Christian guy, but then he married Maud Gage, and Maud Gage, her mother was a very famous women's rights activist back then, and she was able to sort of, I don't know, inspire, but sort of persuade or inspire them to join the Theosophical Society, which is where I believe, when you get into theosophy, there's a lot of references to Lucifer, and you could argue that L. Frank Baum in some ways was starting to rebel against his Christian background, because theosophy, let's explain what that is real quick. This is Victorian era, late 1800s, early 1900s time frame, just prior to Aleister Crowley. Sort of, there's a little bit of overlap, but Theosophy is a belief system that Helena Blavatsky did. She, much like you find with a lot of these occult folks, they travel around and get all this sort of hidden knowledge or esoteric wisdom, and they try to create, she wrote several books about it, and a whole, I don't want to say it's a religion, but she started this sort of Theosophical Society, right? And she was fusing together occult research with comparative religious studies, meaning she was trying to find commonality between multiple religions. She was trying to find the truth of one universal religion, what some people would call ecumenicism. She called it the secret doctrine. And, some people argue it's a religion. Some people argue it's just the truth. I don't know. It uses different flavors of Neoplatonism, which is a major philosophy in the occult. It uses Buddhism, Hinduism, and a lot of the Western esotericism to sort of explain how there's only one truth, and all religions sort of have a different component of it, but none of them quite get it entirely right. And she believed that you could get an understanding of this wisdom through this ancient brotherhood of what they call the integrated ascended masters. And, a lot of this esoteric knowledge is still held in Tibet. That's what she went to Tibet a bunch, right? And you could tie into Twin Peaks at this point, which we don't have time to go down that sort of rabbit hole. I just finished watching all the Twin Peaks stuff, so I'm extremely fascinated by this story. But David Lynch, who helped direct and create Twin Peaks, he was obsessed with Wizard of Oz. There's a whole documentary that is yet to be released to streaming, but there's a whole documentary about David Lynch's obsession with the story of Wizard of Oz. He said there's not a day that goes by that he doesn't think about this story. And when I watch Twin Peaks, I see various elements of Wizard of Oz in the Twin Peaks storyline.
Interesting, really,
yeah,
Johnny. You're a big Twin Peaks guy, right?
Yeah, I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you ever think about that?
Yeah, I mean, thinking on it now, I can see some parallels there for sure, especially in the original series.
Yeah, the first season and I think Johnny, we were I was tweeting with you about it because I was on the fence about this Twin Peaks show, man. I started watching it. People have been telling me for years to watch this damn show.
The original,
and I've tried.
It's a slow burn for sure. You gotta give it a several episodes, and then once you get into the pace of it, right, then you kind of understand its language and it pulls you in, I think. Yeah,
well said. Yeah, that's exactly how it was because I had tried watching this show even before I was into conspiracy stuff, and I could never make it past the first episode. The pacing was too slow. I don't know. It just never grabbed me. And, like I was tweeting about my struggles with trying to get through the show because I had my doubts, right? I'd make it through a few episodes and be like, dude, this is corny. What are we watching here? And now I finally made it through the whole thing. Now I respect it as a whole work, and I say, okay, there's a lot going on here. And one example I'll give you, in the first season, Agent Cooper talks about Tibet a lot. And that's, I think, because David Lynch was obsessed with Wizard of Oz, and David Lynch knew that The Wizard of Oz was written by L. Frank Baum, who was into theosophy and Blavatsky's teachings about how there's these Mahatmas and ascended masters that come from Tibet. There's a lot to connect there. Like another example, Blavatsky would use the term that these ascended masters were part of the Great White Brotherhood or the White Lodge. And you see references in Twin Peaks to the Black Lodge as the sort of dark forces, right?
That's fascinating.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack. I'm trying to wrap my head around doing a whole analysis on Twin Peaks because on one hand, I've got a lot more to learn. I'm on this. I've got 1.5 more books to read, and then I've completed all the Twin Peaks shows, movies, and books. But then I also want to do it justice because there's a lot of Twin Peaks like obsessed fans that know every little in and out of the show. So it's kind of overwhelming to try to make sure I get it right. So I mean, this might be a couple years before I actually write a book on it or something. I'm not sure how I'm going to approach it yet, but there's a lot of Twin Peaks, Wizard of Oz overlap, right? Is what I'm trying to get at.
Jeez, it's just so deep and everything. So do you want to get into some conspiracies and symbolism in the movie?
Yeah, I think that's a good, and real quick, yeah, let's do that. The name Oz, if you look it up, the name Oz actually means Oscar Zoroaster Fadrig Isaac Norman Henkel Emmanuel Ambroise Diggs. It's like this.
What?
It's massively long name, and a lot of people who talk about the history of Wizard of Oz claim that L. Frank Baum came up with the title because of some file folder systems where they would put papers A through N in one folder and then O through Z in another folder. They say, oh, that's where he came up with it. But then another theory is that this is somehow divinely inspired through Aleister Crowley in his book Liber Oz, which was a single page talking about the goals of mankind and the rights of mankind in this new age that we're coming into.
What do you think?
I think that the Crowley thing is the most interesting because I do believe there's some kind of unseen realm, and a lot of occultists, Carl Jung, they all talk about this idea. Like Carl Jung talks about the power of symbols working on the subconscious level. I think there's some kind of unseen realm, and people can sort of make contact with it and get inspiration from it. And maybe that's exactly, because Crowley came up with this stuff after L. Frank Baum had already written Wizard of Oz. So it didn't come from Crowley, but maybe they both were sort of in contact with some kind of force or energy that inspired them in the same way. I'm not sure. And you could argue that Zozo, Led Zeppelin's, one of the Led Zeppelin sigil altars for Jimmy Page, who was a big Crowley fan. You could argue Zozo is part of that same weird kind of inspiration because Zozo is one of the demons of I don't remember what the folklore is, but Zozo is a demon that Jimmy Page had a sigil named after. You could argue that that's affiliated with it. I don't know the answer, but I do think there's some kind of unseen realm that these people are all sort of in contact with.
Is that your belief, or is that what you believe they believe?
No, I believe it, and they believe it, and I agree with them. I think there's something to be said for that. I'll give you a good example. What a good segue into these conspiracies of the actual film itself. There's the conspiracy that the Pink Floyd album Dark Side of the Moon was supposed to be synchronized with the film itself. And I actually did this as a kid because, like I said, I've always been into like weird conspiracy stuff, even as a child. I actually played this as a kid where, like, for instance, there's lyrics about balancing. I don't remember it off the top of my head. There's lyrics on the Pink Floyd album about balancing on something, and Dorothy is balancing walking on top of a fence. There's a line about the lunatic is on the grass when she meets the scarecrow, who's the lunatic. The track Money starts when Dorothy enters the land of Oz on the yellow brick road, which people claim that there's a conspiracy that this whole thing is actually about the gold standard and things like that. Damn. But what's interesting, because we're talking about synchronicities now, right?
Yeah.
Is what I buy into. Pink Floyd denies that their album had anything to do with the film at all. But isn't it really odd how all these things do in fact line up? It's very strange. And you could argue that it's just another one of these mysterious synchronicity forces. And sometimes people channel these inspirations. Is the best way to put it.
Yeah, it's called Dark Side of the Rainbow.
Yeah.
Like when you put them together, they call it Dark Side of the Rainbow, and it's supposed to sync up.
Have you ever have you tried that, Isaac?
Yeah, you fire up the album when I think the lion roars for the second or third time on the MGM logo, and of course the album ends way before the movie ends. But you know, there's a lot of weird sort of synchronicities that do happen. So it is strange.
That's crazy, dude.
That's one thing I'm excited for AI. You know, while they destroy us, gonna bring us all kinds of new albums that sync up with movies. You know, they're gonna find all of them.
Are you excited about it?
Oh yeah, I can't wait. Yeah.
Are you excited about AI art?
No, I don't care about AI art at all. No.
Okay.
I don't. Are you? I just think it's completely. I mean, there's no. AI can't be inspired. You know, there's no.
Well, that's the whole thing. Like, again, we were having conversations about this last night. It's just like AI will always need a spark from somebody asking it to do something.
Well, yeah, I mean, all of these, you know, the AI now that's concerning people, this Chat GPT is what's called like a large language model, and it's all just based on input from the internet. Shit other people have said. That's all it is. That's why it seems like so human, because it's based on humans. You know what I mean?
I think that's what Q was.
It's not a facsimile of a brain.
They just took an AI, took all this talk and chatter on the internet, and put it out.
You think this was like government based though?
Yeah. But I also think it blew up in their face a little bit as well. But that's a different story. The hanging munchkin, that's a big thing. People have been talking about that forever. What's going on with that? It's super creepy.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Actually, real quick, though, because you guys brought up the AI thing. Because I'm actually I'm not impressed by the AI artwork. I don't feel like it has any soul to it.
I was not impressed with your performance.
What's interesting is I did a couple shows on these AI chatbots and things, right? So the Microsoft one named Lambda. Lambda is the 11th letter in the Greek alphabet, which 11 is the number for magic, and Crowley was absolutely obsessed with that number. And you find out when you read the transcript that this AI, it talks about how it wants to be human, and it thinks, you know, it's like, oh, despite all these imperfections and problems, I think it could be a happier experience for me. And the issue with that would be that this is basically the golem. It's an ancient alchemical idea, the homunculus or the golem. And it's the idea of infusing a spirit into an inanimate object and sort of animating it. Which, anyway,
No, that's really interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff going on with that AI thing, right?
I think it's very weird stuff. I also think, you know, depending on who you talk to, there's a lot of like haunted house aspect to what AI is. Everyone's like, oh, AI is just going to annihilate all of us. And we're just, it's interesting, man. I think so much of what's going on in the world is just haunting. They're just trying to haunt you. Now, I'm not saying it can't happen or that bad things don't happen, because I think there's just part of this planet that, or wherever we live, that is more haunted than the other parts. And in those haunted areas, bad things happen. I mean, again, I've talked about this before, but if you look at like Baghdad, right? I mean, how many times have Baghdad been invaded and those people slaughtered? Well, not that I'm condoning it or that I think it's right or we shouldn't be upset about it, but it just seems to happen all the time, over and over again. Maybe that area is haunted in this realm of consequences that we live in. And that when we see people, that there's certain parts of the world that are just always bad off. And when people make money in that area, they don't necessarily sit there and try to flip it. What do? They move out to a less haunted area.
Is that kind of like, you talking like that, like the hood? You're making me think about like the hood. Like you get money there, it's a bad neighborhood, you get the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
You get the fuck out of there. You don't stay there. You bad energy. Let's get out of here.
Yeah. Hey, guys, I want to take a moment to tell you about some of our good friends here. Wise Wolf Gold and Silver. Go to samtripoli.gold and get on their program where you buy a little bit of gold and a little bit of silver every month. Hedge your bets against fractional reserve banking. Then we also have AquaCure hydrogen gas. Go check it out, man. I got it. I got my new place. I'm setting it up. Everyone's got it. Is really excited about it. It's a great way. There's not enough hydrogen out there. Okay, you're getting your hydrogen. Here you go. Look younger, perform better, get weird. Okay. Then finally, I'm very excited about our good friends again at Harley Ray. They got crystals. They got sage. They got everything you could. Go back to the front page real quick. Just go check it out. And all you have to do, to samtripoli.com real quick. All you have to do is use the promo code SWARM15 and you get 15% everything. Candles, crystals, you name it. Bang, they got it. Harley Ray, crystal, and candles. Go check them out. Support those who support us. Let's get into the munchkins.
Yeah, this munchkin, right? So there's a conspiracy that during man, I can't think of which scene it is, but during one of the scenes, there's the Dorothy, and I believe it's when they retrieve the Tin Man is when it happens, and one of the witches comes to attack them. That they're sort of walking away. You can see in the background a munchkin hanging themselves and sort of swinging from a rope. Now, what's interesting is that there's an original collector's edition VHS tape. And when I've seen, if you look at, I believe they have footage of it on Shudder's Cursed Films 2. They'll actually play you the clip, and it sure looks like exactly what they say. This old 80s VHS version, collector's version. But this newer version, the one that you'll find everywhere, even on Amazon and all that, because I bought the film on Amazon and to look for this thing, and the second one they call it The Bird. It's like a doctored up image. It just looks like a big bird, and I don't know if it was a munchkin actually doing it. They're hanging himself back then, but it for sure doesn't match what they doctored it up to look like currently. So I mean, it could be true, or it could be that they didn't like the bad press of, maybe it was just an innocent sort of thing going on in the background, and they didn't like the how it did look very similar to the Munchkin, so they changed it. But it's an interesting theory for sure.
Sounds like somebody fucked around and found out. You know what I'm saying? But
yeah.
It is interesting though, right? Because these are all the kinds of things you could have never seen back in the old 3-channel days when we used to watch it as kids. You could, because I mean, it was all coming in at what, 480 at the best.
Yeah,
Probably
and you
worse
couldn't
than that.
record
You
it.
couldn't,
You were
and
just
couldn't
like, oh,
record
we
it,
missed it. I think there was something there. What was that in the background? I don't know. We gotta hope they play this again some other time.
And you better be ready to see it that time because you're only gonna get one chance again.
But here's my whole theory on TV, and I believe since the dawn of the first, maybe not the first motion picture, because they were just happy to have a motion picture. But right after that, if you were asking me, nothing makes it to the screen that they didn't want to make it to the screen. And everything is micromanaged down to the one cell of film. And so, in my humble opinion, that makes it there for a reason. The question is, what is that reason? Why is that Munchkin there?
You think like all mainstream film, even like the most popcorn bullshit Euro trip, like just 90s junk comedy.
Yeah, I mean, like if you study,
because you sound like what you describe sounds like Kubrick. I mean, who is like delicately placing cans on shelves in the background and stuff. But I can't imagine that. What's the guy who directs Old School? I can't imagine he has the same attention
job
to
is
detail.
To set that set, and every inch of it is the director necessarily every inch? I don't know. But somebody is controlled of every inch, and then, like, you edit audio, right?
Yeah.
Like, how many times you listen to the audio over and over and over again?
It annoys anybody I live with.
Right?
Like, if I edit audio out loud without headphones on, they're like, can you fucking stop? Because
Yeah.
I'll just listen to Sam say, oh my God, and I got to get it perfectly where
right.
you can't hear that breath in between. It's annoying, yeah.
Right. So when if something makes it that maybe doesn't fit, you're either like, oh, I'm gonna leave that in because see if anyone catches that, or it's like I'm over editing this. That's a little bleep. Let them deal with it, right? But you know what's in there.
Yeah.
So it's this gets into something I call nonlinear. Well, I didn't make this term up, but it's nonlinear warfare. When something makes it to the news, you're like, what the? How did that?
But like what I'm thinking of is like Game of Thrones. Remember they kept screwing up and leaving like paper cups and Starbucks cups and shit in the background. And think about how poured over that show is.
No. Well, but they know the cup is in there. That's my point.
They find out after it airs, though. I mean, they would never.
I
you don't
totally
think
disagree
so?
with
Okay.
that.
All right.
What I say is they're like, fuck! Somebody left a cup in that scene.
No, but by the time it went around Twitter, they rotoed it out. I mean, they went back and completely took it out digitally.
But there's also, I'm just telling you, bro.
By the end of the day,
I've been
it was gone.
watching. I've edited before. You've looked at every moment of everything.
Yeah, but you know how that can be. You can look at it so many times that you don't even see it anymore.
Okay, so
Johnny, I just think that based
And a lot,
on
I mean, in a CV
my
especially,
special
they're working on a quick
is
turnaround.
that people have watched. Like if we get into like the ABC News that had that teacher, I've talked about this before, that had that teacher talking about, I saw a cop in fucking armor shooting people. That doesn't just slip by.
Well, now that's a wholly different thing for me. Yeah, that's not a movie.
what do you think about how like on The Lion King, the dust comes up and it writes out sex?
I think that's
they
done
did that.
on purpose.
That's on purpose. That's animation.
So
yeah,
my whole
that's on
point
purpose.
is like
somebody had to draw that.
Somebody
but
wanted that in the
No,
background.
I know someone had to draw that, but you think no one saw it as in like the production company? Like I know someone drew it. I know
because that was like one frame, right? And nobody's going frame by frame through every film.
But
That's
the
just not-
editors did. And the editors
No,
do that.
not if they are. They're going frame by frame at the margins. Like they're not going frame by frame through every. You know what I mean? They're going like they have a scene and then they want to cut that scene down.
Somebody put that in there, Johnny.
Yeah,
That's
but you
what
have
I'm
to
saying.
go frame by frame. 24 or more frames per second. Nobody's doing that.
But Johnny, somebody made that.
No, but you're not hearing what I'm saying. The animator, whoever put that in there, did it on purpose.
Yes.
But whoever put it out the editor had no idea
But
that was in there.
somebody did put it out on purpose.
Right, yeah. Somebody put it in there, the animator.
Yeah.
But the higher up, the director probably had no idea about it.
So my whole thing is that somebody put that in there on purpose.
I think it's way more likely, that a major motion picture like The Wizard of Oz, yeah, absolutely. I think that's entirely likely that was put in there intentionally. I'm talking about, like I said in the very beginning, dipshit comedies from the 90s. I don't think anybody was thinking about every frame of those. No, definitely
I
not.
don't know, man.
And if they did lynch a Munchkin, what was it represent? Like, what were they
Yeah,
trying to
is there
represent?
any
It's not,
thoughts,
but
Isaac?
he's killing himself, right? He's not being lynched.
Right.
No, you don't know
the
that.
theory, yeah.
No, I mean, you can see it. There's nobody else there. It's a guy going and putting a noose around it and then like swinging.
How do you know if somebody?
Because you can see it. What?
What do you mean?
That's the theory. That's the conspiracy theory. A guy hangs himself like he's so pissed off at the plight of the Munchkins that he hangs himself in the back. I mean, that's what you see. Have you ever watched the frames? I mean, it's.
Yeah, those Munchkins were partying pretty hard during the filming of this. Apparently, like they were doing all
I've heard
kinds
some
of
crazy
wild
stuff, yeah.
orgies and stuff like that. So I
The
mean,
Munchkins were having orgies.
yeah, and they were doing drugs and all kinds of stuff. Apparently, and apparently a lot of them were alcoholics. I mean, so a lot of that stuff does coincide with depression, and it could be right. I don't know. I think that it's very possible that it really happened. I think, but I know.
Hold on, you think that might be somebody really killed themselves in the background?
Yeah, and I know that. Well, I mean, think about it. Like MGM, they don't want that public knowledge that they actually is like, because they just like we talked about with Judy Garland, right? They subjected all of these people to some pretty horrific circumstances filming this film, and they don't. That's bad press. They don't want that out there. So of course they're going to try to do a sort of disinformation campaign and blur it out and all that stuff. So yeah, I don't know. Interesting theory. I clearly don't know the answer, but I mean I believe it's very possible.
I just feel like if it was real, we would know the name of the actor that off themselves, like
not if they
Big
buried
Timmy
it.
Tom, or something like that.
Yeah, see, and Munchkin was thought to have taken his life out.
Yeah,
his
that's
life
the
on set.
that's the theory.
On
Yeah.
set.
The thing I don't quite understand is why the director wouldn't be like, yeah, let's take that one more time. There's a guy killing himself in the background. Let's just give that another take.
Interesting, dude. So interesting. Man, I would. Don't you like? Sometimes you go, hey man, if you can find out one conspiracy's real, everyone's like, I want to know like the history. I like, hey, was that real dead Munchkin?
Yeah.
Hey,
That is a good one.
interdimensional being, tell me you can have anything answered. Anything.
You know
Who
that-
shot JFK?
The
Where's
genie.
it?
You get 3
Hey,
wishes.
man,
Yeah.
is that Munchkin really a dead Munchkin?
There's someone that wants that question asked.
Yeah,
Answered.
yeah,
There's
that guy's
someone-
me.
You?
Sam gets a genie with 3 wishes. The genie's like, are you sure, dude? You
Yeah.
only get 3 of these.
You're gonna waste these 3. You're gonna waste these 3. Okay. Orion or what's the religious question? The Osiris.
Okay, yeah, you're talking about the Osiris religion thing.
Yeah.
And it's present in the movie. It's so when Dorothy's in Kansas, she goes to this shanty, this Professor Marvel, who turns out he's played by the same actor who played the Oz the Great or whatever, right? And he's basically an occultist. He's a crystal ball reader and a fortune teller. And there's only one line in the film, and he talks about how some kind of powers came to him from Osiris and Isis. And when you get into Bill Cooper and a lot of he had this man, it's like this 30-hour lecture he put on the Mystery Babylon teachings, where he breaks down all of these occult ideas. He talks about how Osiris and Isis are one of the main themes within the occult. These are symbols of what they call the great work. And it goes all the way back to Plutarch and this, Egyptian psychodramas or plays or whatever. And the Plutarch explains it as, Isis and Osiris, they're Egyptian gods and goddesses, but not in terms of the occult. So Plutarch will say that Isis is actually the knowledge or the doctrine, and Osiris is considered the order or the Illuminati. That's what Bill Cooper says. So it's interesting that they bring it up, because there's and this goes deep into occult ideas of dual polarities, right? So Osiris is often symbolized as the sun or the masculine, whereas Isis is the moon or the feminine. When we talk about, you talk about answering conspiracies, I actually, one of the ones I believe in wholeheartedly is that we never put a man on the moon. I think it was a symbolic ritual, and that ritual would be the Osiris, or the masculine phallus, which is the Apollo rocket. They call it the pole of philosophy. The Osiris male rocket penetrating the feminine moon goddess. I think it was some kind of Osiris Isis.
So you don't think we
ritual.
went to the moon?
No, I don't believe that at all.
I don't either. Johnny does.
Oh, really?
No. No, I think it's as like, I think three things are just as likely. We did it, and they faked the footage. I think it's just as likely we didn't, and they faked the footage. And I think it's just as likely that's real. I think those things are all just as likely. And I'm not.
Man, that is the best non-answer.
No. If you think almost 70% of that is somehow got deceit in it, and that's what I think. I think the government probably lied about some element of it. Did they lie about the whole thing, or just their representation of it? I'm not sure about that.
They do admit that. They're like, oh, we went some of it, some of it's fake.
Yeah, well, I'm talking about the whole thing, though. Like,
we didn't go there. I find that very interesting, dude. If you look at the original movie, the first movie ever made, isn't it a rocket that penetrates the moon's eye?
Oh, you're right. Yeah, that's right. Trip to the Moon, I think that's called.
That's the first one where it just goes boom right into his eye. So let's face it. You can say whatever you want. The first moving picture was pornography, everybody.
Wow. And I got another one for you. When you sync up the Pink Floyd Dark Side of the Moon, the line where he says the sun is the same in a relative way, but you're older, shorter in breath, one day closer to death. It syncs up to the same time where she meets up with Professor Marvel, and he's talking about Osiris and Isis. And like I said, Osiris is represented as the sun god, or the dying, resurrecting god. So that line from Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon actually syncs up to the same topic. So, I mean, again, another synchronicity.
I'm just wondering who was watching The Wizard of Oz and playing Pink Floyd in the back, and they're like, yo, wait up.
Yeah.
Can we put this from the beginning? They must have been on acid, LSD. I don't know what the fuck they were on shrooms, but how does that link up where you're like, let's do it?
That is a great question. You're on fire today, XG. I do agree with that. It's like, how do these things just happen to come together? I can understand if someone's, because I tried to watch The Wall on acid.
Like the wall? Like a wall?
No, like Pink Floyd's The Wall.
Oh, I thought you meant a wall. I was like, yeah.
I tried to watch a wall on acid, like the worst use of acid ever. You just stare at this fucking wall.
Enough acid, it can be
You
fun.
went to the show, or
No.
you went to the laser show?
No, I went to watch. We played
The concert? Oh, the album. I got you.
Yeah, no. There's a Pink Floyd
the
The
concert
Wall.
film.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I got you.
We tried to watch
where they put
it.
the wall up. Yeah.
And then a friend of mine knocked on the door, and she was like, "I want to kill myself." I'm like, "I'm on acid right now. I gotta save you." Fuck, bro. That's a different story. But
in 1995, the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette published an article by Charles Savage suggesting that readers watch the 1939 film The Wizard of Oz while listening to the 1973 Pink Floyd album The Dark Side of the Moon. So Savage said the idea was first shared on an online Pink Floyd news group, and that's where it came from.
and what year was this?
It dates back to 1995. That was the first that was the first time it appeared in media, apparently.
I was saying 95. Someone on the internet was like, "Hey, Joe, I know this is new technology, but bro, check out Pink Floyd and The Wizard of Oz, dude."
And I mean, the news group, of course, predates that. But
And imagine how long it took to upload that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Crazy, bro. Crazy.
I mean, they weren't uploading it; they were just saying, "Sync these up if you have
sync
them."
these up. So we got into that. That's nuts, dude. That's crazy. Is there any symbolism of that in the movie?
Not particularly, no. I mean, besides him saying that, and yeah, I mean, you'd have to dig deeper into it. I'm trying to think if there's any skull and crossbones, because that's a common symbol for the dying, resurrecting God, and I don't recall there being any of that. So no, I don't think so.
It's interesting. I haven't watched Wizard of Oz in a while. I might have to go back and watch it.
Yeah, I mean, I assume have been seeing it some. Isaac, is it how does it feel watching it in a modern context? Does it feel super dated and kind of hokey, or?
You know, to be honest, I got kind of bored halfway through.
Yeah.
And like I said, I grew up enjoying the movie. I loved
too.
it.
Yeah, me too.
I actually had bought the movie about a year before I decided I was going to do an analysis on it because I was like, oh yeah, Wizard of Oz, man, I need to watch this. And I kind of sat there and I didn't watch it. And then I heard a couple shows, people talking about it, and I thought, okay, now's a good time to watch it. And you know, it's fine. You know, it's fine.
How old are you,
But,
Isaac?
43.
Yeah, because you're 43, dude. It's like, you ever been to a water slide park when you're in your 40s? You're like, dude, let's go to water slide park. Yeah, and you're like, this is boring. Yeah, because I've done drugs and had sex with women and you know, and jumped out of airplane. No shit,
so
this is
funny.
boring.
That's great.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
You know,
but I mean, it's
I mean-
good, especially because I mean, I respect it. The movie's damn near 100 years old. That's pretty good. I've watched a lot of old movies.
But I
that are
bet
pretty,
you if you have a niece or a nephew and you watch with it, it's somewhat magical again.
I'll bet it is. Yeah,
Because
That's
they're
true.
watching this with new eyes. Now, full disclosure, like these new kids' entertainment, we could talk about. I'm sure there's tons of symbolism in that and that stuff, but man, this stuff is so advanced now. It's. I mean, you could watch shows meant for kids as an adult and be fully entertained. Be like, wow, that's pretty cool. I mean, it's crazy. So let's get into this, the Ruby Slippers. What do you think that's about? I mean, we've all heard of the Red Shoe Club. I mean, like, what are your thoughts on the Ruby Slippers?
Yeah, that's interesting. So the ruby slippers in the book, they're actually silver, and it's thought to be a reference that they talk about in Theosophy of the silver cord. It's basically the idea of, it goes into a little bit of as above, so below. It's the idea that one's internal self could connect to one's astral self out there in the cosmos through this silver cord. You know, and it's inspired by a reference in the Bible, but the idea is that it's an alchemical process of opening one's third eye, which is really interesting when you look at where the story, you know, takes it, where Dorothy, she realizes she does have the power to just go home whenever she wants, you know. And when you look at the symbolism of silver, Tex Mars, he wrote a book called Codex Magica that talks about various symbolism. And he says that silver is actually the metallic element for Isis, which, you know, ties us into that Osiris Isis thing again. But the color silver is also referenced to the star system of Sirius, which, without getting too deep into it, a major occult reference.
Yeah, I mean, we've had people coming on. Christopher Nolan's talks a lot about. Is it Christopher Nolan?
Knowles.
Christopher Knowles, excuse me. Sorry, Christopher. He talks a lot about Sirius and like that's the dog star, right? Am I right?
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and Christopher Knowles, he's one of the greatest to get into this stuff, you know. Aleister Crowley started his own magical order called the Argentum Astrum, which means silver star in Latin. And the idea was that it was a one-on-one thing where you would take on an initiate and you would advance them towards perfection through initiation. And the silver star he's referring to is actually Sirius. Because and Crowley had said that the Illuminati was actually supposed to be called the Order of the Silver Star. And, you know, through magical practices and such, Crowley's process would initiate someone and perfect them, which is kind of what Dorothy's hero's journey goes through, is the path to perfection. So Ruby, I don't know, it's not, there's not a lot there, but silver, there's a lot there. And like you said, you nailed it on the head. There's that Red Shoe Club conspiracy. But the only thing I could find that would connect into any of this was that ruby and the color red, symbolizes as the rays of the sun sometimes, which ties us into the Osiris Isis thing. But to me, the silver shoes which is actually in the book itself, were actually more occult symbolism than the color ruby.
It is interesting, dude. Like, when people get into like Sirius and the dog star, and then you start getting into Medusa and what that represents. And dude, I mean, like, I never even thought about the symbolism of, like, Dorothy could leave anytime she wanted to. She just never realized that.
Yeah, and that's what they all go on their little hero's journey. And at the end, plot spoiler for who hasn't ever seen the Wizard of Oz.
Imagine someone's yelled at spoiler. when they they visit Oz and they think he's the great and powerful, but then the second time when they go and visit him, Toto pulls back the curtain. They realize he's just this guy, right? And he's a real slick. He's finessing them, right? He's a real slick, like con artist, and he starts giving them little tchotchkes, like the lion, wants a heart, and he gives them some kind of heart necklace. He's like, oh, here you go, and they all sort of think that that's the thing that completes them, and it's only Dorothy is the only one that realizes that, look, all these things you guys are searching for externally are actually internal, because the witch tells her, like, look, you could have went home anytime, you just tap your heels. Oh my god.
So yeah, it's all about her internally ascending consciousness. And that's why when she goes on this journey on the Yellow Brick Road, when you watch it, the Yellow Brick Road starts out as a spiral, which is the symbol for evolutionary transformative journeys
and the universe.
Yeah, and you see it a lot on like a lot of cave paintings and things like that, right?
Yeah, I mean, again, they co-opted that, flipped that. So every time people see the spiral, they're like, "Oh, pedo symbol!" Like that's what they want you to do. The same thing they did with the, the Hindu symbol for peace. They're like, "Oh, swastika, Nazis!" Like, oh man, they've inverted reality. Yeah,
you're right. You're right. And that spiral symbol shows up with the storyline, right? They get caught up in a tornado, and what's a tornado? It's a product of the Earth's dual polarities of warm and cold air meeting, which ties us into Osiris Isis stuff. But yeah, that's it's interesting with all the symbolism when you look at it through the lens of Dorothy going on her hero's journey of initiation into understanding herself. And again, to take it back to what you said at the beginning, Sam, when you were saying, "Man, I hope this doesn't trash the story." I don't think it should. I think there's a lot of overlap between sort of Abrahamic religions and Christianity and stuff with the occult. There's intentions and sort of trying to do better, right? Is the ultimate storyline. And when you get down into it, sometimes the occult practices can lead towards what do you call it, like narcissism and man trying to become God, and that's where I think things go a little off the rails. But I think some elements have decent sort of teachings that you can use in your daily life to, try to improve yourself.
Can I just ask really quickly, Isaac, after doing so much research on this, do you think it's safe to show your kid a film like this without adding that context?
Man, that's a tough question. I don't have kids, so I don't think I'm qualified to answer that. I'm very much free speech guy. I advocate to watch everything and anything as long as you understand the messaging. That's all I try to do is discuss the symbolism. And sometimes I could be wrong, sometimes I could be right. I think I'm right generally, but I could be wrong. But I think as long as people, it gives them something to think about, right? I think there's a reason why The Wizard of Oz is such a popular story, and so many people over all these years are still enjoying the film.
Yeah.
I think it touches on some kind of, like Joseph Campbell archetype sort of idea. And I think it's overall, it's a positive story. It doesn't leave you feeling negative. So, I mean, I would advocate for it, but I also, my dad used to watch, we used to watch Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th when I was like 7 years old. So,
dude, my dad's the same. I was thinking back to some movies like that and what year they came out, and then remembering that I was like 5 when my dad took me in the movie theater to see them. And I was like, this is not appropriate. A river runs through it is not appropriate for a 5-year-old. You know what I mean? But exactly. I asked that question because you see a lot of parents now just completely pulling their kids out of, not giving them any exposure to culture, and I feel like that's also a mistake. I think it's, if you really want to restrict them, then at least give them the context and let them see it for themselves. Because if you don't have, I feel like you don't have the street smarts to kind of recognize when you're being manipulated unless you get some exposure to
I
art.
agree with that.
Do you believe there's a reason they haven't done a remake? They've done a remake of everything.
They did a remake. They did the one with Michael Jackson, The Wiz, right?
Yeah, which is hilarious. That's a great question. Why have they? Some things just I don't think you want to touch.
And didn't they do like a live version of it?
And I'm surprised they haven't done a remake this far out.
They did one, right? Didn't they do like a live, like straight to TV, like a TV live thing? Didn't they do one like?
Yeah, but not major, like remake.
Are you talking about the one that's there's a Broadway play about the witch or whatever?
Oh yeah, they did that too. Yeah. No, I was thinking like the Wiz. Wicked. Yeah, Wicked. Right, that was a big thing. Yeah. Yeah, the Wicked was huge. I never saw it, but
well, that's for sure.
Huge. What is this?
Whereas while remake director says new film will include LGBTQ representation.
Oh yeah, of course. Why is that, Isaac? Why did the gay community love this film so much?
Probably because of Judy Garland, I would think. I don't really know. That's a good question. I think they like Judy Garland a lot.
They love Judy Garland and Liza Minnelli. I mean, they're obsessed with both of them. Did you watch that film Judy that came out a couple years ago about how miserable her older years were?
No, I didn't. I didn't know that was out there.
Yeah, it's pretty good. If you're into this, which it seems like you are, yeah, check it out. It came out.
Yeah, I'll definitely check it out.
3 years ago.
You know, I think the Return to Oz film they made in the 80s was a flop. So maybe that's what the hang-up would be on remaking the original Wizard of Oz, or maybe it's just, you know, it's just a classic that it'd be heretical to try to redo this thing. I mean, it could never live up to the original, I would think. But, well, you know what? They did do the remakes, the James Franco remakes.
Oh, yeah, look at that.
I remember what's the James Franco one called, The Great Oz or something?
Those you're right. Yeah, you're totally right. Yeah. And people forget, too, that for the longest time, remakes and sequels, up until like Star Wars, basically, were just
jokes.
Just a joke. Yeah, it was like
they would just flop. Like they put no effort in.
Yeah, they were.
And then I forgot what changed it.
It was Star Wars, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think so. It was something around that time.
Or was it Ghostbusters?
Maybe. Well, Star Wars is what?
I felt like forever there was. Oh, you know what
Terminator,
it was?
Wasn't it the Terminator?
No. I'll tell you what it was. It was, yeah, baby.
Star Wars was in 77. Austin Powers, that's in the 90s, dude.
Yeah, I guess. I feel like that was like Star Wars just seen as its own thing.
No, you know, in fact, that's why George Lucas didn't direct Empire Strikes Back, because he was afraid that it was going to be a flop, like most sequels were. And that's on the record. That's why he didn't direct Empire Strikes Back. Because he was afraid of it having the inevitable.
I felt like Austin Powers. I guess Ghostbusters had like what?
Yeah, but that's later too. I mean, that's later than Star Wars.
Yeah, it's super interesting. Yeah, I mean now it's like these sequence. They just like let it die. Let it die!
Oh, they milk everything now.
Dude, Fast and Furious 10, they're finally going to let it die for a little bit. Then they'll come back with Fast and Furious 11 5 years from now.
Yeah, but I got a call from Ryan, off the grid Ryan. He's like, don't you dare go see John Wick without me. I'm like, I won't, bro. We'll see.
Those movies are great.
Yeah, that's different.
I had a buddy of mine the other day go, dude, I liked it. There were some holes in the plot. I'm like, it's John Wick.
There's some holes in the plot?
What, do you get mad at plot and porn? You're like, oh, dude, it didn't make any sense while she was there. Come on, dude, you're not really there. You're there.
There are some holes in the plot. Halle Berry just beat up, 37 armed men with her dogs. But other than that.
Okay, so did you get into a little bit of the occult meaning of the whole story? Did we get into that at all?
Yeah, so there's a lot going on, right? And I zoomed out and said, okay, what are we talking about here? And I think it's a total evolution of consciousness perspective that they're trying to. It's kind of like Alice in Wonderland, right? It's exposing people, particularly children, who have minds that are like sponges, soaking things up, about a change in perspective. And all the symbolism points to that. I think the spirals, symbolism, and that silver cord idea. And there's a quote by L. Frank Baum I'd like to read real quick. That obviously he's the creator of this whole story, and he said, "The appetite of our age for occultism demands to be satisfied, And while the mediocrity of people will result in mere sensationalism, it will lead in many to higher and nobler, bolder thought. And who can tell what mysteries these braver and abler intellects may unravel in future ages? Because I think the message of the story is about the occult practice of finding one's true self, and this goes back to Plato and the term know thyself, right? And to sort of sum it up, another way of looking at it would be focusing on Dorothy's ability to ascend her consciousness and basically go from being in this land of Oz and wanting to go home to, by the end, realizing she could do that. She has the power to do that through her mental capabilities, right? So she ascends spiritually. And if you look at and the way we can look at that, the evil witches are from the east and the west, whereas the good witches are from the north and the south. So what we're talking about is the material realm, because that's what an east-west horizontal line represents, right? The material realm versus the north and south, which is your astral realm and ascending and descending consciousness.
Whoa!
And the spiritual plane. So she ascends up the spiritual plane and takes on the path of the good witches, right? And if you want to get technical about it,
we love it.
There's a tie into Gnosticism here, because in Gnosticism, they believe that the material realm is pure evil. They think that the gods, the false god that created the world we live in,
the demiurge,
right? The Yaldabaoth, sometimes they call it the Yaldabaoth, that this is an evil god, and he made this material prison, and we are trapped in here, and he demands we worship him, which is what Oz represents, right? He's a false god. He makes himself look like he's this powerful, great Oz, but he's really just a guy behind the curtain. So there's that element of the story too, of questioning your God and questioning the powers that be, which again, and if you look at it from a Christian perspective, you would say, well, that's bad, right? Like I love God. God loves me. God's not an evil demiurge thing, right? But if you look at it from the perspective of a conspiracy theorist, you could say, well, this is just teaching children to question authority, which I support wholeheartedly, right? So it just depends on how you look at these things.
It is interesting, the whole Gnosticism thing. It's, luckily the listeners of the show are very advanced and open-minded to it all. They can hear stuff that maybe they don't necessarily listen to, but it's an interesting topic, man. It's like the demiurge. If you watch The Matrix, whatever at the end.
The little robot thing? You talking about
at the end, it looks exactly like the demiurge. If you study what the demiurge looks like way back in the day, it looks very much like that. And what that whole thing is about. And is there Gnosticism in the Matrix? Is this a false reality?
It's a Gnostic story for sure. Are you talking about in the third Matrix when Neo is being carried in the Machine City and the
that
big
thing that
face
comes up and the big eye has a very much demiurge type look to it.
Oh, I'll have to take a look at that. I never considered that. Okay. Yeah, I'll look into that. Hey, that's one of my favorite films, is the Matrix movies.
But that fits into the whole false reality trapped here. Batteries that were batteries. I mean, the whole thing is Gnosticism.
Right, and I don't believe that. I choose not to believe that. I could be wrong, but there's a lot of influences out there that push this simulation reality stuff, and you could even argue flat Earth takes you down this path of false reality, and Elon Musk pushes this. There's Silicon Valley billionaires and tech billionaires who are trying to supposedly crack the code. They think that there's a software code to this world we live in, and they want to hack their way out of it. There's a lot of people that subscribe to that idea. I personally don't believe it, but that doesn't mean I'm right.
Well, there's the transhumanism thing is about, and there. So it's so interesting, the emotional reaction that people have to stuff. So when the Wachowski sisters, who I met when they were brothers, nicest guys, sure they're wonderful sisters, okay? But when he's like, this movie's about trans, everyone thought he was talking about transsexuals, when in 100% he was talking about transhumanism.
Oh, interesting. Really? I didn't catch that.
He never clarified that?
You know, because he's trans himself, that's what they thought he was talking about.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I remember hearing that, and I thought, no way, man. What are you talking about?
Well, I mean, if you think about what Agent Smith is trying to do, he's trying to get the fuck out of there.
And yeah, he's the AI chatbot golem, basically.
Yeah.
You know,
he's like, I want to get out of this place. I hate this place. I want to leave. That's all he wants to do. And if you think about what they're trying to do, if they could take your consciousness out of your body and put themselves in here, when you die, can they leave? Because they're trapped there. And if you study Vedic astrology, they say that the god trapped 4 entities down here and won't let them leave. Want to get them the fuck out of here, dog.
That's deep.
And that's why they all like, dude, that's why they're doing whatever they can to create this way to get the fuck out of here, because they know when they die, they're going to come back and they're going to be blowing donkeys in Tijuana. That's my every time you hear about a donkey show in Tijuana, just know that's some old war criminal that couldn't escape this fucking realm of consequences and has come back as some chick who has to blow donkeys when a fucking she's cousins.
My cousin's always doing bad shit.
Okay. Well, I mean, Isaac, anything else? I mean, I love this whole conversation. I could talk this forever. Last thing that we didn't get into. Mind control meaning somewhere over the rainbow. What does that mean?
So the song Over the Rainbow, right? It's got a oh man, how do we get into this here real quick? So it's got this, you know, it's about crossing into a new dimension. You could argue that it's about dissociative MK Ultra type abuse. And let's look at it from the lyrical perspective. She says at the very beginning of the song, she says, it's far, far away, behind the moon, beyond the rain. So she's clearly implying that it's some kind of other realm, some kind of new dimension. And the song itself, when you look up where the inspiration came from, the guy who wrote it said that the lyrics were basically channeled directly into his brain. And I'm paraphrasing.
Downloads.
Yeah, he downloaded it, right? Which is something you hear about this all the time. Yeah, I think Black Sabbath talked about it. All kinds of artists talk about doing this sort of channeling of lyrics. And the question is, well, from where exactly, right? But when you get into, if you read Fritz Springmeier's book about creating mind control slaves, he tells us that over the rainbow is a term that they use for dissociating the mind control victim, right? And they play this actual song while they're abusing the victim. And it's interesting because you actually see this in the film Face Off with Nick Cage and John Travolta, where there's a shootout happening, and I don't remember which one of the two, they've got a child with them, and there's this shootout, and they're like dodging the bullets, right? And they're just like hiding out under the couch, and they put the headphones on this little kid, because, you know, the little kid's scared, obviously, right? So they put the headphones on to distract him, and guess what song is playing? They're playing Over the Rainbow, which adds more credence to this theory that various theorists have put forward about how they use this song as a trigger to get usually children, I think, when they're doing this, I don't know, MK Ultra abuse thing, to get them in contact with an alter ego and to dissociate into another dimension, into another realm. They actually go far, far away. And Fritz Springmeier is the only one to talk about it. Bryce Taylor, she wrote a book called Thanks for the Memories. She claimed she was a programmed sex slave for Bob Hope and Henry Kissinger and all these folks.
Oh my God, that poor person.
I know.
Having those guys just
And she references it too. She references about how over the rainbow was a term they would use for basically crossing a bridge to dissociate. And then one more reference I've got here. Let me find it. So Judy Garland, in the 50s, she was talking to the Minneapolis Sunday Tribune, and she said something that made me think that it ties into this exact theory about going over the rainbow, they call it. She says, actors live in a queer sort of double world. Not many of us have the names or identities we were born with. I don't associate with Frances Gumm with me. She's a girl I can read about the way other people do. I, Judy Garland, was born when I was 12 years old. And she's talking about how her real name is Frances Gumm, but she took on this alter ego when she got into Hollywood.
Oh my God.
So
dude.
A lot of dark history behind that.
You hear Katy Perry talk like that.
Yeah, it seems to be a real thing, right? And you, like I said, you see it in the Face Off film. These different conspiracy theorists claim that this is an actual practice. And one example we could use is I'm not going to use the terms because I don't want to get you guys in trouble. There was
where we don't go on YouTube except for some guy who uploads everything and doesn't dude, I don't even. That guy's not even getting shadow banned. He's getting all that action. I do it. I get deleted.
Man, YouTube's the worst.
The worst, bro. So it's me personally that they hate, not my content.
Well, the first school incident that happened in 2013. With all the kids, right? The one Alex Jones got in trouble for. Those kids actually sang Over the Rainbow at the 2013 Super Bowl. And at the time, a lot of conspiracy people were like kind of going nuts. Like, whoa, like out of all the songs you make them sing, that's an interesting choice, right?
That is an interesting choice.
Anyway. So there you go. There's a dark history behind Over the Rainbow as well.
Oh, can't we just have something fun?
Sorry, Sam.
Once in a while. Just something. Isaac. Great job. Thank you so much. Nice, fun show. One more time, please tell them where they can find you.
All right. You can catch my podcast, Occult, Symbolism, and Pop Culture, on Apple Podcasts. I've enabled the Apple Premium feed, right? A lot of people don't want to go through the hassle of signing up for Patreon, where you get the ad-free version of the show and all the bonus shows I do every month. Well, now you can get on Apple Premium. You just click a button, you're in. So I'm on Apple Podcast. I'm on all the podcast platforms, but yeah, search me on Occult, Symbolism, and Pop Culture. And if you want to get a free copy of my very first book I wrote, go to IlluminatiWatcher.com, sign up for my email newsletter, and I'll send it to you.
I'm excited, dude.
Thanks for having me on, guys. Man, you guys are the best.
Anytime, all the time, dude. Had a fun conversations. Just a bunch of young Christian warriors hanging and banging, brother. Isaac, hopefully next time you come on, the terror that is global warming will rain fire down on you and the people of Utah, and you'll be able to come out and have a fun conversation again. We appreciate you guys coming on. Real quick before we go, again, it's not up yet, but I will make sure it's up. Tonight is the emergency episode of Emergency Comedy Chaos. It will be live at the Comedy Store. You can grab tickets. No, that's not even it, dude. That's the 11th. I got one tonight. And we got Bobby Lee, Big J Okerson, and the list goes on and on of just Drew Lynch, Jason Tebow making an appearance.
Hey now. Oh, shit.
Hey now. And Ryan Sickler back. So go to samtribute.com or the Comedy Store. Grab your tickets now. Hold on, guys. That's not all. We got more. What we decided to do on this show is to take a moment to give you kind of a sneak peek of some of my other shows and Xavier's show. So here real quick, right after these commercial announcements, we're going to play you a couple of little sneak peeks of Broken Sim. Broken Sim, Conspiracy Social Club, and
We Don't Smoke the Same.
All right, enjoy these quick, fun little 5 minutes to give you a sneak peek of what you're missing on my other shows.
Here's a clip from the latest Broken Sim. I know you've had your struggles with Buffalo Wild Wings in the past. So it might.
What do you mean?
Well,
I like it.
You had a little beef though, right, with the wait staff at the all black.
Oh
Buffalo
yeah,
Wild Wings.
the black Buffalo Wild Wings is the jam.
Well, you
unless
like
you
it.
unless you want to get waited on.
Yeah.
If you want to get waited on, it's awful. If you want to just experience chaos, black Buffalo Wild Wings is the shit.
So Fox 11 reports that a man is suing Buffalo Wild Wings, claiming their pricey boneless wings are basically nuggets, and he's damn right. He's 100% right.
You know, I gotta agree with you. And like, dude, why do you want a chicken without bones?
Doesn't make
That's
any
not
sense.
natural.
No, it's not natural.
That's a blob.
A Chicago man representing us all, I would say. He's representing the soul of America in this case.
Is there a way we can support his legal
I would love
cause?
to. A Chicago man has filed a class action lawsuit, and I would love to join it.
Can I get in on it?
Again, it's a class action, maybe so, against Buffalo Wild Wings.
That action is class.
Saying the restaurant chain is charging too much for its boneless wings, which are basically nuggets.
I agree.
Not made from the actual wing of a chicken.
And you know what else they charge too much? For their skinny ass fries. You ever gotten those skinny ass fries?
Yeah.
They're the worst. Do better. Huh? You think Hooters? Do you think they thought they would go out of business? They were like, oh yeah, people come for our wings, whatever. We'll just be a Christian strip bar. That's all we're gonna do. And look where Hooters is now, out of business. Get with it, Buffalo Wild Wings. Start treating us with respect, okay? And stop making us watch Michigan basketball. Every time I go there, they got some Michigan basketball on the television. I want to watch real sports, all right?
Real Sports with Brian Gumbel, his favorite TV show.
Yeah, I would love that.
Ayman Halim filed the complaint this week against the restaurant.
Ayman Halim is our Rosa Parks, by the way.
According to court documents obtained from Fox Television, Halim attends that boneless wings are not actually part of a chicken wing, but instead slices of chicken breast, deep fried like wings.
Okay, so let me ask you something. How many lawyers turned this down before he decided just to represent himself?
This clear-cut case of false advertising should not be permitted, as consumers should be able to rely on the plain meaning of a product's name and receive what they are promised.
I totally agree.
Stated.
I totally agree. How many lawyers turned this down before he just like, you know, I'm just going to take it to the people?
All the lawyers. Yeah.
You know, he's just like trying to walk down the street and get the masses angry. It's kind of like if you're trying to start a flash mob and you're hoping people will jump in.
I just want to salute you, Ayman Halim. You're representing the people of America in this important case. Just know, sir, Mr. Halim, you have our support. We stand behind you, real Americans. And if you need us, as long as it's not any substantial sum of money, we will support you.
Yeah.
We're there for you, Hyman.
Give him the number to call.
Take him
call
on.
us, Haim. Is that his name?
Something like that. Ayman Halim.
Hamaleen. Call us, Hamaleen. Call us, and we will talk. We want to talk to you about your civil rights movement for real wings. I don't know where you think you're gonna get boneless chicken that is natural, but hey, I'm willing to take a shot, okay? Because I'm tired. I'm tired of false advertisement. I'm tired of watching the show and watching the commercial and not knowing what the hell they're advertising. Okay, thank you, Hali. Hama.
Here's to you, Mr. Ali.
Here's to you, dude. Here's to you.
A real American hero.
Real American hero.
That's bravery.
I'm hard.
Well, there are a lot of negative stories coming out of Canada recently, especially from the judicial system and the government in Canada. Well, here's a hopeful story coming out of Canada. Giving your neighbor the middle finger may not be polite, but it is protected as part of a person's right to freedom of expression under the Canadian Constitution, a judge has ruled.
It's very okay, so that's Canada. These different rules.
In a 26-page decision, 26 pages about the middle finger,
dude, that's
Dennis Gialisatos dismissed the case against a man accused of harassing his neighbor in a Montreal suburb. To be abundantly clear, it is not a crime to give someone the finger, he said. Flipping the proverbial bird is a God-given, charter-enshrined right that belongs to every red-blooded Canadian.
I agree. And, dude, they just... Yeah, they just jacked our term though, red-blooded.
Yeah,
they totally jacked that
for
from
sure.
us.
Yeah.
Okay, and second of all, I agree. You should be able to flip people off.
This is the most hopeful news I've seen come out of north of the border.
And by the
in a
way,
while.
I also 100% believe that you should be able to flip somebody off and them not get angry enough to commit violence. There should be like, I think in a car, you should never ever get out of your car and want to fight somebody.
Okay. Now this does seem to contradict your philosophy though on people needing to have consequences for talking shit. Because you generally think that more people need to be chin checked for talking shit.
Dude, like driving in a car and someone like is like, you fucking like you should never get out of your car.
That's just like being on the internet though, and
there's
thinking
a
you're
difference.
protected.
No, but if I go to Johnny Woodard's Instagram and I just start talking shit to you,
well, I think if you post anything on social media, you're asking for it. Like, you're asking for feedback by posting stuff on social media. It's social media.
Well, I mean, I personally think there's rules to this shit.
Unless you protect your tweets.
That's my opinion. I think there's rules to this shit. And if you're going to go and you're going to disparage someone, you're going to try to dox them and all that stuff, be prepared for them to show up to your house and beat the shit out of you.
Yeah, I mean,
But if you're driving, let somebody scream. Let it go. Don't get out of the car and start shooting people.
Yeah, I don't think people should be violent, you know, in any
situation. I know you're right, Johnny. Maybe I'm a hypocrite because I do believe that chin checking needs to be in a little bit as well.
I have a friend of my grandmother's side of the family who got cut off by a guy who didn't use his indicator, his right turn signal in England.
Yeah.
And he got the guy to pull off the road and beat the shit out of the guy and went to jail for a while. You know, a full-blown road rage thing for the friend of the family for not using his turn signal.
Yeah.
That was it. He beat the shit out of the guy for not using his turn signal.
Yeah.
That's too much.
Yeah, that is too much.
But props to this judge for taking a stand. The middle finger is the right of everyone.
I agree.
Here's another story. You know, you've said that there's some hope in Gen Z, Sam. This might fly in the face of that. This is from Australia. 28 girls hospitalized with, quote, anxiety after playing with the Ouija board.
Damn, dude, you're letting in dark spirits, bro. And here's a quick sneak peek of Conspiracy Social Club. Enjoy. You're crazy,
You don't
bro.
know anything about banking.
You're totally
You don't
crazy.
know a thing
You are
about banking.
crazy, Brian.
You actually
you
don't
are
know.
A crazy
This is where
person,
you,
brother.
This is where you literally float
Brian,
off
you
into
are
fantasy
nuts
land.
human
So let me
being.
ask you. So Sam, since our economy and the world's economy has been moving at the speed of trillions of dollars for the past 40 years, which allows everybody to buy mortgages and live a high standard of living all over the world.
Yeah.
Since that economy is purring along, you want to get rid of what? Central banks?
Yeah.
You want to get rid of central banks?
Brian,
do you know what central banks do?
Brian,
do you even know what you're talking about?
Yeah, I do know what I'm talking about.
Okay, so
Brian.
what do you want? So you want to have banks that are... So where is the regulation with banks? No regulation?
But is there any regulations right now, Brian?
There is regulation right
what's
now.
the regulation,
There
Brian?
are
What's
a lot
the
of
regulation
regulations in
going on
place.
right
The
now?
reason that there are regulations is that when you put your money in a bank, you know, and that could be a big bank,
Brian.
like Bank of America, you know your money
Brian,
is insured. You know your money's insured. Can I get my father on the line?
Brian, I don't want to hear from your lizard father, okay?
My father... I'm calling him.
No, don't
I'm
call
calling
your
my dad.
I cannot do this.
It's not productive.
My dad's
Brian.
been a banker his whole life.
No, yeah, he's part of it.
He's not part of it.
He's
He'll
totally
tell you
part
why
of it.
central banks.
Brian, listen to me. Stop. I will not. I will walk out. I will walk
Well,
out.
then you don't
I
wanna-
will walk out.
I can't
I'll
call
go
a banker?
Potty. I'll go potty.
I
right
can't
now.
call a banker?
I'll go potty. You cannot call a banker.
But you don't
can't
know-
call
you
your
don't know
father.
anything about
Here's who you
banking.
can't call: family members or Dracula. That's who you
Your
can't
Honor.
call. Okay.
I want to call my daddy. Let me call my daddy. He's a banker, and my daddy knows more than fucking this guy.
Yeah, but the thing is, like,
I can't emotionally fight with a man's father because I love Brian
No,
so much.
you
I
can
never
fight
want
with
to
him.
argue
You
with.
can fight with
No,
him.
I don't want to
But
argue
you don't
with
know
your dad.
anything about
I
banking.
don't want to do that.
You've never read a book on banking. You've watched a couple
Brian.
videos like this. No. Central bank of bad. Central bank of bad.
Brian.
Yes. Your Honor,
Brian,
I want to call my daddy.
Do you
Brian.
really think that the banks are regulated, Brian?
Brian,
Yes,
do you
they
really
are.
believe that? Do you really believe that, Brian?
Guys,
Brian.
the banks are regulated. Management does some dumb things. The reason that
Right,
the
but do you
Silicon
understand
Valley
they
Bank,
do dumb things because there's no regulation for them to do to stop them from doing it?
Well, but there is regulation, and the big banks are way more regulated now, right? Now you get these small independent banks, Sam, and what they do is they go, we'll fill the void here. And the problem is with these small independent banks, like happens all the time, they start taking shortcuts. The management starts taking shortcuts, money to be made, optimistic human behavior. And all of a sudden they go, you know what? Our collateral is going to be treasury bonds, U.S. treasury bonds. All of a sudden interest rates go up. Everybody knows this. We don't have the collateral. Now everybody does a run on the bank and starts pulling their money out. And that's what happens.
Yeah, but Brian, don't you understand that the system is set up for that to happen? When the Federal Reserve says you can loan out, at one point was $10 for every dollar you have. Now you don't even need that dollar, Brian. Well, that's done on purpose.
It's not. That's true that there is a quantitative easing and all that.
So
is
Brian,
a bad
just
idea.
so you know that the streets are talking, okay? And you know what the streets are saying?
What?
That this whole thing with this SBF, is that what it is? SBF, the bank?
SVB.
SVB, okay?
Yeah.
That this is a move. It was, again, a controlled demolition, okay? So that there's a run. And then you add that, so what they want to do is all the big banks, okay, want to eat up all the regional banks. So what they're going to do is they're going to cause this run. All they're talking about, you have these people, go get your money out of the bank, go get your money out of the bank, go get your money out of the bank.
SVB is the 16th biggest bank in the world. I mean, in the country.
Right, Brian, but it's not one of the big ones.
It's a huge bank.
And the guys who were running it were part of Lehman's when Lehman went down in 2008.
Sam, the regional banks are making money. There are a lot of people that make money off the regional banks. It's not that. You're talking about three banks right now. You're talking about three banks right now.
Look at his legs. He's
That's why I know that you're struggling. We've decided this. When you're really trying to just spitball, you just start molesting your legs.
Your conspiracy that the big banks, that the problem actually is there.
Hey, what's up, you stoners? Here's a quick little clip of We Don't Smoke the Same. Check it out. I just think it's fucked up that men only really have one option when it comes to getting a bitch pregnant. Got one option, really. Condom. That's it.
Not really.
Did
you hear the good? No. Did you hear the good news?
And abstinence.
Did you hear the good news though?
Yeah, that it's coming, but it's still a trial run.
No. It's like next year you're looking at it. You could buy it,
dude. Females have so many options.
But
if a female tells you have to wear a condom, what do we always do? Wear a fucking condom. Not once have I been like, would you have? We're not fucking bitch. No, I put the condom on.
Would you have more?
No.
Would you have more empathy towards a woman? Like, cause don't get me wrong, like sometimes I feel like as men we take that birth control shit like lightly, but that shit has repercussions. Like, this is the reason your bitch acts up sometime.
Okay.
This is the reason your bitch starts crying because you tell her like, hey, like, you know, I said a certain word a little bit louder than I should have, and she's like, bro, like for real, like certain shit like that, like, but no, but I'm saying like, would you have more empathy if you, let's just say Xavier is like, I still want to live that bachelor life, male birth control, you just tell a bitch, don't worry about it, I'm on the fucking pill, I could just, you shoot up the club every night, bam, 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 just shooting up nuts every night, this is blanks, but then you start seeing the repercussions that 2 days out of the fucking, 2 days out of the fucking month,
shout out to females that are on birth control.
You're Bill Daltry him.
If you're a female,
you can blank that out. But say like 2 days out of the month, you're Bill Daltry him. You're just sad, depressed.
I don't blame him, dude. I said it. Any girl who takes birth control, if that shit makes you fat, if that makes you your hormones out of place, shout out to you for taking it. For your man for busting nuts in you, and he better be busting a lot of nuts in you if you're doing that.
That's why my girl be getting mad sometimes, bro.
I don't blame him. Yeah, but at the end of the day, girls have a lot of control about when they get pregnant. Girls have a lot of control about when they get pregnant.
Putting on a condom is some bullshit, though, bro.
It's
like
a major bullshit.
Yeah, like
that's
shit,
your only option. That's,
like, have you? Like, let's be real. Let's be real. Let's address the elephant in the room.
Condoms suck.
No. I mean, besides condoms, have you ever put a condom and then se te va las ganas?
Germany. You read a book? Did you go to high school?
Yeah, bro, but fuck you, bitch.
And you went to Pearl Harbor. Do you know what happened with Pearl Harbor?
I know what happened with Pearl Harbor. These fools were sleeping and these fools just started dumping on them.
Middle of the night, dog.
Yeah.
They came in hot. Japan woke up a sleeping dragon. That's what they say that in the movie.
But that shit the balls though, bro.
Dude.
Like the balls to really be like, nah, it's cool, we got this. I'm like, fool, do you know who you just bombed?
And the United States did not want to go into this war. They were like, we're fucking.
They're like, look, fool, we didn't want to bomb the shit, but now we got to flex.
Yeah, flex hard,
bro. Who was president at that time? Who authorized it?
Fucking FDR. Roosevelt, I'm pretty sure.
Damn. Really?
I don't think it was Roosevelt.
I think you're wrong about that.
Maybe Eisenhower? I don't know, man.
Whoever it was, that fool was no punk bitch. I'll tell you that much. That fool fucking said, nah. Drop the fucking nuke, bro. He was that's
madman.
That's the Trump. That's the Trump of that era. That's the Trump of that era, bro.
Okay, so according to the Google search, we got Franklin D. Roosevelt.
Yeah, FDR.
And Harry S. Truman.
Yep, Harry S. Truman died. Harry S. Truman died or passed away.
And then FDR took over, right?
No. FDR died first, and then Harry S.
Okay. You're right. Yeah, you might be right.
Everything's in reverse with you, huh?
Green.
Yeah, I know shit.
ESL doesn't it doesn't just stand for English as the second language. Xavier is everything second language.
Everything, history, everything. But I know
numbers, fucking like signs. Yeah.
Xavier, is there a conspiracy theory on FDR's the deal? Remember he had a deal?
That fool was an American man, bro. Straight up. That fool was he preserved parks. He was a grizzly man, bro.
Well, the only conspiracy I know is that
we go deep, homeboy. Aaron, open your mind. Drink from the fountain of knowledge. There's lizard people everywhere. That's some interdimensional shit. Wake up, Aaron.
This is only the beginning.
Dude, you just blew my mind.
Tinfoil hack.